guys. Oh no. Look at it. I'm crying. Look at it. It's a mess. Oh, I'm crying. Oh, this is so funny. Is it at all better? Is the video better? Is like, first of all, I know that everything's zoomed in. I am aware everything's zoomed in, but is it a... You guys, I don't know. I'm laughing so hard. You guys, my stomach hurts. So can you guys hear me? Please, for the love of fuck, tell me that you can hear me. Okay. Is the video super laggy? If I hear that the video is... Okay. We restarted. And everything's really zoomed in. And I didn't do that at all. I'm dying. Selfish kid. Thank you. I'm just going to go ahead and try and fix this because I did not make everything zoomed in at all. I did not make things big. This is not on purpose. But it's so funny. Everything is very large. You guys, it shouldn't be this funny, but I've been having a little bit of a struggle lately. So when I logged in and it's just really funny. Why is the chat not showing? You guys, the chat isn't showing on screen. My follower goal, I don't know where my follower goal is. It's like just off screen somewhere. It's so bad. What do I do? Oh my God, I don't know where the chat box is showing, but it's not like actually showing what people are saying. Yeah, maybe we have a little hydrate moment. The chaos came so early. You guys, I'm crying laughing. That was so funny. I came in and before I decided to click go live when everything was really big on purpose because I was just crying laughing and I wanted everybody to participate in that with me. So I don't know what's going to happen if we get a new follower, if the thing's going to be really big or something. But is Twitch working normally? I don't even see our little sub badges. Girl, I don't know. I see your VIP, your founder, and like a little thing there. I see Doug's mod thing, founder, and his little gamey dude. But I don't see the chat, even though the chat box is there. So I'm just gonna go ahead. You guys are watching me become a real live streamer in real time here because I'm gonna add. You guys, my stomach hurts so much from laughing. Okay, will this chat box be the right size? Who knows? Will it show? Who knows? There we go. You guys, we got chat. It's showing. You guys, I'm amazing. You guys just watched me become a software developer. Okay, I really needed... I really needed that. Thank you, Science, for encouraging me to just like quit and start again. And thank you, everybody, for bearing with me through that. I don't think I'm going to stop laughing about everything being really big when I came back because I did not do that. I just came back and everything was like chaotically zoomed in strange ways. Why am I not subscribed anymore? My God, what's wrong in the world? Girl, I don't know why that is. But yeah, science definitely deserves a shout out for navigating us through that. I just discovered that there's a safety pin in this shirt and it was stabbing me. So everything, hit F. Just F? I'm clicking F. F. Oh, F5. F5 for me is to enable dictation because I'm on a I don't know. You guys, I'm just gonna let it happen. Oh, for nanners. Okay, yeah, nanners, you're on your own. I've graduated from my software engineering degree already today. Oh, what would I do without you guys? Everything's pretty chaotic right now. I actually did a last minute wardrobe change right before we came on. Get a Grip is officially redundant. Yeah, we don't need him. We don't need his years and years of experience. We've got my ability to. You guys, my face actually hurts from laughing. That was so funny. No, I'm lying. We need Get a Grip. This probably wouldn't have happened somehow if Get a Grip was involved. The man is a white cloud of technological. What kind of smoke is that behind you? That my friend is just that's a humidifier. That's it. Isn't it cool though? You guys want to know what else happened during the Great Reset of June 2nd, 2023? The great incident is I moved my desk about a foot towards the door because I was like, maybe it trying to go through all these layers of concrete is an issue. I don't know if that's a real thing, but I did it and maybe that helped. So now my desk is quite literally in the middle of my bedroom. So I remember that day like it was 5 minutes ago. We're all going to remember where we were on the Great Reset. But you guys, you want to know how else I know that I'm a real streamer? Look at these. I'm obviously not going to use them right now because I don't need to hear anything, but they're pink and they're cute. And they weren't that expensive because God knows I shouldn't be spending money on this sort of stuff. But I've decided that I might try gaming. I might try to game. God knows that's going to be a terrible idea to try gaming when I can't even get like the bandwidth or bits or whatever the fuck it is to even just stream my video. If I try and stream a game, Lord help me. But you want to know what? That's part of the fun, is the fact that everything is chaos here. And you know, that's just the way it is. When do we get our I Survived the Great Reset shirts? When I can afford to actually make merch, you guys, there's going to be sticker books. There's going to be PP Gang. There's going to be I Survived the Great Reset shirts. Keep calm and reset on or some bullshit like that. There's going to be amazing stickers. Everything's going to be great. But as of right now, your girl's poor. Your girl's a student. There's a siren outside. They're coming to get me. They're like, she's done. Anyways, so speaking of shirts, I had a wardrobe change right before. This is how chaotic today is. Tomorrow's a full moon, so that's obviously why. I had a wardrobe change right before because I was wearing a bodysuit and like your girl's tall. I don't know if you guys could tell when I did my baked potato fashion show on Monday, but yeah, your girl's tall. So bodysuits, if they fit me that way, width-wise, they're a little bit snug on the front back, which is fine if I'm like standing and walking around, but once I sit, it like tugs it differently and is very uncomfortable. And I was also wearing shorts and they were kind of bunching. So there was a last minute wardrobe change. Oh, you fixed it. Yay. Okay. Well, thank you for being a subscriber in the first place, and congratulations on fixing your little sub badge, and for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend. I really appreciate it. Yeah, go me. Exactly. I really, really appreciate the support. Look at that. Oh, everything's working just fine, except my mind. But that's okay. Neurodivergent, We love it. We love to see it, support each other, all those things. I'm just going to go for a cheeky hydrate and a maybe a deep breath. Okay. Everybody, you want to know what? Remember, for those of you that are relatively new to the stream, this is maybe, I don't know, like 5 Friday streams ago, we were talking about regulation and coping mechanisms. And one of the best ways to immediately in the moment relax your body and force a sympathetic, parasympathetic response is to breathe in through your nose twice. So breathe in deeply and quickly and like hard, and then try and get a tiny bit more air in, and then exhale it like a sigh. So let's do it. Let's do it together. Let's do a little. That's it. The second little thing is just a tiny little sniff of air. You can even sip air through your mouth. It doesn't have to be through your nose, though. That's ideal. And that's one of the techniques that's actually like neuroscientifically backed. It triggers basically the same thing as like a vasovagal response. So it helps activate your vagus nerve and stimulate that so that your blood pressure goes down, and basically you're flooding your body with oxygen, because a lot of what happens, and one of the things that triggers your parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems to go kind of out of whack and basically activate your fight or flight response, is when you have an imbalance in the amount of CO2 versus oxygen that's happening. So what you want to do is just, and you can hold it in a little bit longer if you want. Anyways, so that's one like hot trick. There's lots of different types of breathing techniques that are, also valuable, but that's one that's like straight up like emergency, like works now kind of thing, and doesn't require a whole lot of cognitive effort because it's literally just in and out. I'm totally new. Orange hue, welcome. I'm glad that you're here. I'm Neurolicia. I'm a neuroscience graduate student doing my PhD. My studies primarily focus on pain and preclinical models. I'm also a specialist in the realm of addiction, which I did my master's and my undergraduate theses in. And I'm also just enthusiastic about psychology and neuroscience of what we do every day. So welcome. I love questions. We like to chat, interact in the chat with each other. Lots of good discussions. And on Mondays, typically, I also do a stream with my close friend and colleague who's also doing her PhD in neuroscience, Layla Show. And it's called Vulgar Science. We talk about spicy topics. We get spicy around here anyway. It's like an 18 plus situation, but parasympathetic question mark. So, okay, we can dial it all the way back to some basic neuroscience. So your sympathetic nervous system is basically what activates things. It's part of your autonomic or automatic nervous system. It's what happens without you trying. So if you see something that signals danger to you, it's going to activate parts of your brain, which I could get specific about if you so choose. But basically, it activates certain parts of your brain that cause this cascade to happen in your body, going from your brain. Selfish Kid, thank you so much for the follow. I really, really appreciate it. Welcome to the sewer, fellow rat. We love rats around here hugely. That's kind of the brand. Anyways, we have this cascade that happens in our body in response to threat or perceived threat that causes the release of adrenaline. And adrenaline is a hormonal response. So basically what happens is you get visual or auditory or whatever information that tells you danger, and then it causes a whole bunch of electrical impulses to happen in your brain that then trigger a cascade of things that are actually more chemically based and hormonally based. And that is your sympathetic nervous system being activated. So we talk a lot about this when we talk about anxiety and being triggered and those sorts of things. A lot of that is related. So the kind of flip side system that helps turn that off then is your parasympathetic nervous system. And that's basically what we're trying to activate when we do things like what Nanner said is doing box breathing. So box breathing can be 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out. I've also seen it be a whole bunch of different numbers. It really depends actually on your lung capacity and what's comfortable and how fast you're doing it, because you can actually hyperventilate, which sometimes can be useful depending on the state that you're in. So if you're going to do any sort of like specific breathing techniques, I would do a bit of research, but one that is completely acceptable to do safety wise and everything like that is definitely going to be the one that I just discussed. So I watched you talk about rats with laser hats with Corey. Oh, cool. Well, welcome. I really appreciate you checking me out after that. I hope you enjoyed that stream that I did with Corey. I really enjoyed doing it. Corey Campbell is awesome. He's also a SciComm streamer, but he's a microbiologist, something like that, and looks at more of a structured look at a lot of science, and we'll do deep dives into papers. So if that's kind of something that you're also interested in, you'll probably get a little bit more structured and really, nitty gritty level of science stuff, and obviously different topics over there than you will here. But there is a decent amount of crossover, and I did really enjoy doing that stream with Corey. But yeah, today I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, hoarding and clutter and how to kind of clean that out literally and how these things affect us mentally or emotionally or psychologically, however you want to phrase that. Because essentially, it was just kind of one of those things that I was like, that might be interesting to talk about initially. And then it became actually something that I was like, hey, this is like a lot more applicable than I thought it would be to my own life as I was researching it. And is something that I think can be applicable to anybody's life. You do not need to be a hoarder for the things that help individuals with hoarding disorder to be applicable and helpful to you. So it's something, a lot of people know someone that's a hoarder. And it's something that's really quite stigmatized. It's something that's not well understood. Recently, or up until recently, I should say, they used to think that hoarding disorder was a subtype of an obsessive compulsive type disorder, so that it was a compulsion to acquire new items or objects, and that it was an obsession with acquisition and keeping things. And it's not to say that there's not aspects of those invasive and uncontrollable compulsions and thoughts and stuff like that to it. It's that it's something that's distinct from that, because we haven't covered OCD in the stream yet, though I would very much like to. But what would distinguish these things is in OCD, a lot of it is characterized by mental obsessions and preoccupations with certain things that get in the way of your day-to-day life and make it more difficult to do, and the compulsion to engage in certain activities, actions, or even the compulsion to engage in certain thought patterns. So a lot of people think of compulsions as like checking, closing, and opening doors, and certainly that can become a part of obsessive compulsive disorder and is very much a present characteristic in a lot of it. But I would like to remind people that a lot of, especially mental, psychological disorders are highly invisible. So what a compulsion can be in individuals with obsessive compulsive disorder, and indeed ones with hoarding disorder, is the compulsion to think about things, to go through a mental checklist. For individuals with obsessive compulsive, did I turn off the stove? Did I close the door? Did I lock the door? Did I, and go through those things. So, and you wouldn't necessarily know that that compulsion is being acted on because it's happening in your mind, not as an actual outward action. Nanners007, my aunt is a hoarder legit. I have two aunts that are definitely hoarders. I think my grandfather had hoarding characteristics. My next door neighbor is definitely a hoarder. And it's something that's quite common, and it certainly is more common in geriatric populations, or even not technically geriatric, but older populations. There is a correlation of it going up over time. So my 98-year-old's grandma was a hoarder. When she passed, we found a shit ton of stuff that were intact from the 80s. Well, and I think it's interesting that you kind of draw attention to that specifically, because a lot of us that don't have disordered, I'm assuming don't have a disorder that concerns this specifically, or, you know, something, those compulsions at a pathological level might be like, ooh, cool. Wouldn't it be great to have an intact, I don't know, Atari or something that's just been sitting in a box and, you know, collecting dust and not being knocked around and moved and sold on eBay and stuff like that. Or, you know, some other interesting and valuable thing from the perspective of a neurotypical individual, from, you know, to distinguish them from individuals with hoarding characteristics or full-blown hoarding disorder. That sounds really cool. And we're like, ooh, I'd love to see that as an artifact. But what becomes problematic is that same sort of inclination to this is going to have value, or this has value now all of a sudden, is what keeps a lot of hoarding individuals or individuals with hoarding disorder, what compels them to keep doing that, right? So, answer ants. Hey. Bisexual finger guns from Alicia. Bow, bow, bow. Oh, happy Pride Month, by the way. Hi, gays, if you're gay, or any of the acronym. Counting the number of clicks your turn signal does before you turn, or counting steps. Lots of people do that. And here's the thing. You can engage in these characteristics. You can have these things without having the full-blown disorder, right? So a lot of people talk about being OCD about certain behaviors or where things go, or, you know, stuff like that. And you can have these characteristics, but what makes it a pathology is when it gets in the way of your day-to-day life and causes struggle or harm or anything like that, right? So both are good. Why are you calling out my Intellivision under the stairs? I mean, here's the thing. This whole stream, when I was researching it, like I was talking about earlier, I have a dog situation. Hold, please. Lay down. Come here. We're gonna have a hoon check without any point redemption, because she's just being a little bit of a baby. Ugh. Someone has a tennis ball. Lucky girl. Hoon? Yeah? Are you stressed because someone was in the hallway? Everyone just know that there is a hoarder in this household, and it's this dog, and she hoards toys. She hides them. She found this tennis ball in a box in my closet when I was rearranging. And this girl's had a bad tummy for a whole week, for almost a month on and off. Don't sniff the microphone. Okay. I'm going to close the door so that you can't go out near the door. Relax. Go. All right, there was a hoon check. You're welcome. No. Up on the bed. Stay. I'm going to close the door, guys. Sorry about it. Anyways, where were we? We were talking about being able to have characteristics of a disorder without having the full-blown disorder. This is why we have something called the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, to help us determine what's kind of within the realm of normal tolerance. People are allowed to have preferences. You are allowed to want to keep things. Like, you know, it's not like you have to want to throw every single thing away to be neurotypical when it comes to like the concept of hoarding, right? I keep things. People have collections and stuff like that. It's when it becomes debilitating, or when it becomes something that's, causing stress or distress or malfunction. I'm malfunctioning currently. Dysfunction, day to day, right? That's what causes pathology. That's what distinguishes these things. So there's a spectrum of behavior, right? So keep that in mind as we talk about these things, because a lot of this activated me. A lot of this made me think like, holy shit, I do that. Oh my God, like, am I a hoarder? And I'll talk a little bit about my thing, because I've been wanting to do this stream for over a month. So I've been researching it over time and kind of noticing this stuff. So I had the benefit of just, pushing back different topics and being away to allow me to kind of really marinate on this topic. But selfish kid, is it possible to start hoarding as a kid? Yes, very much so. And frequently it does. One of my niece keeps everything, pieces of broken toys or random objects. We cannot throw anything. So I would encourage whoever is the primary caregiver of that individual to go to a professional and discuss it. If it's seeming like it might be problematic, it's much easier to take a look at it now and see if that's something in the realm of normal behavior. Remember, I am a neuroscientist. I am not a psychologist. I'm not equipped to do any sort of diagnoses or treatments. But what I can tell you is the research does suggest that yes, it happens in kids all the time. All the time, especially from this perspective of anthropomorphizing toys, which basically just means projecting human characteristics onto non-human things. Frequently, children do that to their toys, which again, I'll draw your attention to the fact that that is normal behavior. But when it edges into pathology, that's when they start to, feel sad if a sock goes missing or, a piece of a broken toy or something like that. And you really, it's an individual situation where you're going to need to consult someone that's a specialist in that area, which is not me. But it never hurts to check. It never hurts to check. And thank you for sharing that story. True. My OCD is my day-to-day life. Dr. Neurolab. Hey, Dr. Neurolab. How's it going? This is a really cute little brain. Is that yours? Oh, I love your little emote. We also have brains around here, guys. They're not our most popular emotes, but we've got them. I'm just going to pop them all in there. Chatty chat. There you go. I love stopping the microwave at exactly 0 seconds, but before it beeps. Yeah, there's something great in order and control. And control is a large part of specifically obsessive compulsive disorder, and a lot of other related disorders are frequently comorbid disorders with obsessive compulsive and hoarding. Lots of these things, one of the underlying characteristics or through lines between all of those things is a desire for control, or they think that that's what. My neighbors are like screeching. The children are screeching. I hope everything's okay over there. Anyways, that's one of the through lines is control. It's common in eating disorders, which is very comorbid with obsessive compulsive disorders and certain personality disorders that are related to control. And so you can start to see how, though we categorize mental disorders using that DSM that I was talking about before, the big thick book where we categorize things, but there's also the perspective that mental and psychological and emotional disorders happen on a spectrum and dimensions, because a lot of the disorders do have the same kind of underlying effects, right? Or things that are driving them. We had a cat that stole bottle caps. We found a pile of them under the bed one day. Well, so I wonder if your cat was hoarding or if they just couldn't get access to them. Like, did they get it to somewhere where they couldn't get it? Because, of course, we can't pathologize animals in that way. But wouldn't that be funny if we could? He had a plan and you ruined his master plan to dominate the world. See, that sounds accurate. That sounds like something a cat would be involved in. That's my wife. LOL. Thanks for adding marinate to my lexicon of describing thoughts. I love using marinate. That's something that I tell people, I'm like, I'm going to need to marinate on it for a second. So yeah, take that out on the open road and let her prosper. Marinate is a great way to, kind of characterize what we're doing. Because a lot of times we just want to put the old, skull steak in a bunch of sauce and get it, get it flavorful again. The flavor we love, Plato, move over. Socrates, we don't know her. That's That's some real philosophical stuff. Gonna have to get these quotes on a napkin or something. I have a DSM-4, definitely not a light read. So the DSM-4 would have been 3 updates ago. So there's probably some notable differences, which is really cool and means that you have a cool artifact that you hold on to, even though it's not technically the most up-to-date, most useful piece of thing, and you don't necessarily work in a field that would utilize that, but you keep it. So what differentiates Risto in this characteristic, or in this example, what differentiates that from hoarding, right? Why do we keep that? Because it's something that's interesting to you. It's something that falls into, you're very interested in mental health. You do Coffee Talk Sundays. Check those out if you guys aren't already. So that's something that's useful to you. So on paper, if someone was coming in and being like, am I going to evaluate whether this person should have these items? On paper, probably, not, but they don't know your life, right? So it's something where context and color is everything. And we like to pathologize people. And there is an impetus, I believe, in our modern culture currently to pathologize things, because without pathologizing them, frequently people don't get care, right? Which is why I so strongly encourage on this channel to go to therapy. Even if you don't think you need therapy, it can always be better. Everyone can benefit from therapy. And the more that we go, yes, you're putting a demand on the system. Yes, I know it's not always accessible, but the more we get that ball rolling, the more the momentum will happen that it's going to be just normal. Because if you think 20 years ago, telling people you were going to therapy, they'd be like, holy shit, is that person crazy? Now it's something where it's like, oh, that person's probably woke, or you know what I mean? Like the tone around it has changed even in my lifetime. So if we can, I don't know, perpetuate that a little bit and conceptualize these things, I think it would be really useful for people to do that. So there are whole books that are DSM explained for each version, a much better read for non-clinicians. That's a really interesting thing. I had no idea that existed. Thank you, Dr. Neurolab, for sharing that. They're probably expensive, I bet, but that's cool. There's a reason they labeled it a manual. Yeah, that's a really good point. It is indeed a manual. My microscope manual is also not a light read. Yeah, you know what? My microwave manual doesn't tell me to stop it at 0.0 seconds because it'll be satisfying if I do it before it beeps. But I think it's worth doing. Orange Hue got a point. DSM for dummies, I bet you it exists. There is definitely information is very accessible these days, which is on the one hand, I think, amazing, because people can figure out that they're not alone and they can get access to all kinds of information, care, community, all of these things. But on the other hand, as I was just saying, the urge to pathologize, to self-diagnose, and to self-pathologize normal spectrum behaviors is huge now. So people, I find, friends of mine, myself included, being like, oh, are you so-and-so, or like, are you ADHD or blah? And it'll just be an example of like, I do that. I don't have ADHD. I do that. It's whether or not it causes distress, right? The behavior itself without context is somewhat meaningless, not meaningless, but it requires context, because maybe keeping every newspaper you ever get for 40 years, if you're an archival librarian and that's your collection, that's not pathological. If you're doing that and it's causing it so that you can't walk through your own hallway without being fearful that a stack of newspapers is going to come and pin you down, pathological, right? It's the exact same behavior, different context, right? So I'd like to just remind people gently that the only people that can diagnose things are professionals, that you do not need to be a diagnosed anything to benefit from therapy, and that these things are okay. It's okay to not be normal. We're all not normal. Like I say welcome to the sewer when people follow. That's not normal, but I fucking love it. So, anyways, I literally just Googles that. Who wants to be normal? Well, and what's normal anyways? What is normal? When we talk about normal, Layla and I touched on this a little bit in the previous stream when we were talking about, what the fuck is the thing that we were talking about? The relationships, parasocial relationships. We talked about this a little bit. When people were designing medicine, like, doctors were coming up with, the way to compare what's normal to what's not normal. They took a 70 kilogram or whatever white 45-year-old, and that's the benchmark. And consider the fact that I doubt a single fucking one of you is exactly that. So by definition, none of us are normal. So normal is completely reliant on the benchmark that is determined. And lots of times that is utterly arbitrary. So striving for normality is, I think, a false target to have. We should be striving for functionality. We should be striving for thriving, We should be looking to do things that, in my opinion, make us happy and not at the cost of anybody else, and that add value, right? I think these are things that are definitely important to keep in mind, right? Definitely not normal here. Dame Karen, hi, welcome. I'm Neuralicia. Thank you very much for contributing to chat. And we're definitely not normal here. That is very true. And I'm happy to keep it that way. So as Restore Rock says, who wants to be normal? And hearts from Selfish Kid. What is normal for a spider is chaos to a fly. See, that's some actual, what did I say earlier? That's actual philosophy. That's Sun Tzu, right? I don't know. Anyways, I think it's Sun Tzu that said that. Hello, Dame Karen. Anyway, so I did a fair amount of research in this area, both in the trying to figure out psychologically what differentiates hoarding behaviors from non-hoarding behaviors, how it transitioned from being a sub-disorder of OCD to a disorder in its own right, and what specifically makes this disorder what it is and what it isn't. So I looked into that end of things, and that's really kind of the more cut and dry science end of it. But I also I listened to 5 episodes of this podcast that's just called That Hoarder Lady. That's what she goes by. And she talks about her experience. She's a full-blown hoarder, self-admitted, and every single episode is some different perspective on hoarding. So I listened to that and some of her tips from day to day, what she struggles with, how she kind of intervenes mentally. And again, even though probably none of us are actually clinically diagnosable as hoarders, I took so much away from this in terms of literal clutter and also mental clutter and how you look at things and how we make decisions. So I really hope that what we're going to talk about today is going to be helpful, and feel free to chime on in. Globus the Elder, hey, welcome in, also first time chatter. I'm familiar with your name. You guys did a collab, I think yesterday, that I missed. I'm so glad. Thank you. I'm glad that you caught the stream with Corey. I really enjoyed doing that. And I hope that you get some value out of things here. We definitely don't do the same type of science deep dives that Corey does. I'm not going to be talking about specific papers in depth today, but I am going to be talking about research-backed things and experientially backed phenomena from people that live with hoarding disorder. So Fleiderman. Google says it was Morticia Addams. That's even better. That's even better. Anybody that knows me in real life knows that I love Morticia Addams, so much so that, hold on, you guys, hold on. My cell phone background, there's me dressed up. It's so reflective. That's me dressed up as Morticia Addams. Oh, well, it left. But anyways, that's how into the Addams family, and Morticia specifically I am. So if it's Morticia Addams that said that, that needs to go on a sticker. If I ever have merch, that's going to be it. Anyways, and also I love spiders. If you're new, I haven't shown people my tattoos recently. I'm not going to show them all because I'm wearing pants, but that's how much I like spiders. Woohoo! Chaos for spider. Chaos for fly is normal for a spider. Anyways, cool. Anyways, yeah, welcome in to the new people, and please don't hesitate to ask questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question. I am happy to go back to the most basic of basics and talk about whatever's going to be helpful, and whatever's going to be interesting, because I truly believe that there is neuroscience and psychology in every single drop of a moment that we experience in this life, and actually hordes of it. Teehee, hear that? Hordes. I'm arachnophobic, sorry. Well, I apologize. Depending on the level of your arachnophobia, that may have been quite aversive. So I apologize if that activated you. So yeah, when I was researching this, it started out as something that was really like I was listening to talks from specialists that study this and are in the area and stuff like that. And it was interesting, and it was really eye-opening because the way that they treat it frequently, historically, has been with CBT or ACT. And what CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy. We did talk about that a long time ago on A Vulgar Science when we talked about the different types of therapies. We talked about CBT. It's one of the most popular ones right now. It's kind of having its renaissance, or it had its renaissance in the early aughts and tens, and is really, really science-backed. There's tons of research to support its effectiveness for all kinds of things. And hoarding is one of them. So briefly, without getting into something that we've kind of already covered in a different stream, cognitive behavioral therapy within the context of hoarding would be looking at the cognitive end of things. So the thoughts. What are the thoughts that are going through your head? Actually, you know what? I'm going to back up for a second. There are two characteristics to hoarding disorder that are really important to keep in mind throughout this. One is it's the inability to get rid of things, the inappropriate inability to get rid of things. This can be from pieces of paper to food to objects to you name it, just anything. Paper is a really big culprit for a lot of people. And the second thing is the impulse and excessive acquiring of new objects. So those are two aspects that are kind of key to hoarding disorder, without getting into like the actual DSM definition of it. And again, it has to be causing some distress, right? For it to be the pathological version of these things. So in CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, as it pertains to hoarding disorder, it would be something where they would encourage an individual as they're going to acquire a new object. So say they're at, I don't know, a thrift store or a drugstore or anywhere, a garage sale, any of these sorts of things, and their impulse to acquire is activated. So they're like, ooh, look at this perfectly good lamp. Great lamp. It's only $1 because they're at a garage sale or whatever, right? So the cognitive part of cognitive behavioral therapy would be to cognitively intervene, remind yourself. Some people will wear like something before it starts to become automatic. They'll wear something that tells them that, or they'll give themselves a mental list like I can't acquire things on any days except Sunday, or I can only acquire 10 things if I'm going to go out shopping. They'll give themselves an item limit, that sort of thing. So there's a cognitive tip off, because again, this is not automatic behavior that's going to happen in an abnormal or non-neurotypical brain, right? So these individuals are going to be like, great, that's a deal. Why would I not do that? I have $1, it's a great lamp. Problem solved, right? Even though there's no problem to solve. But the cognitive behavioral therapy aspect of it would be to use thought stopping. So stop, take a step back and see, do you actually need it? Do you have a place for it? Does this item, do you have a broken item? Do you have a replacement already for that broken item? Will this item be giving you positive things in your life, or will it be adding to negative things in your life, or will it be neutral? Can you afford this item? And start to question these things and these motives as to why we're getting a new object in that situation. And then the behavioral end of things would be just maybe literally holding something and telling yourself you have to hold it for 10 seconds and decide that way, or 10 seconds would probably be quite short. A lot of people, myself included, when I want to buy a big ticket item or like something like an expensive piece of clothing, like a jacket that's a couple $100s or something, I usually tell myself, if I'm still thinking about it the next day and I'm willing to go back and get it and put in the legwork to go back to where I already was, that's how I'll know I really want it and that I'm not being well marketed to, and that I'm not falling victim to the fallacy of missing out on a deal. Right? So that's a behavioral intervention that has cognitive aspects to it because you stop yourself from doing the action, but the behavior is the actual like tangible, external part of it. Does it spark joy? That's a great one. So for those of you that were, on Netflix, like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and there was the tidying up with Marie Kondo, the KonMari method, when you pick up the thing and you ask, like, does it spark joy? And if it doesn't spark joy, then it goes in the donate, trash, or I can't remember what the other piles are, but basically it determines whether or not you keep it. Now, the issue with that in a non-neurotypical individual, in someone that has hoarding disorder or hoarding characteristics, is it's not about an item sparking joy or not. So I don't know how much that would actually work for them. And it's frequently about resource scarcity, the perception of resource scarcity, and anthropomorphizing and overvaluing certain things. Frequently, especially right now, older individuals are people that lived through, this is members of the silent generation and the boomer generation that were raised by people in the silent generation or even before that, right? So this is people that grew up in wartime, where there was severe resource scarcity, especially if you were not in North America. Like, it was bad here, but it was even worse if you were, like, I don't know, in part of what is the former USSR or, Germany or, something like that, right? There wasn't, people were encouraged to reuse their lipstick tubes. So, like, it affected everything. And keep in mind that those people then have you couldn't get a container for your things. So you would keep your sour cream containers. Like my grandmother, who's now dead for about 15 years, I think, used to keep sour cream containers, like every single one of them, or like yogurt containers kind of thing, endlessly. And that's what like leftovers would go in. We didn't have Tupperware. They didn't care about microplastics and stuff like that. And why would you throw away a perfectly good container? That circles back to a whole nother thing about our current culture, which is we don't want to be wasteful for the fucking earth. So we have guilt when we get rid of things that we should be getting rid of, which encourages hoarding. So if you're already predisposed to that, then it starts to get really hairy, and there's not necessarily a right or wrong answer here, right? So anyways, does this Drano spark joy? No, but I need to clean drains with it. Yeah, well, and necessity is one thing, right? So that's one way to attack this is, do I actually need this? But if we go too far into that, then we're going to be living in like military barracks. Do I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pillows? No, I do not. So maybe when I go and I see another pillow, which I did, I was at Winners literally yesterday. And I was like, ooh, cute throw pillow. And I'm like, Alicia, you do not need a new throw pillow. You have all the throw pillows you need. You have more than you need worth of pillows, right? So we can't do like a necessity-based thing too much. It doesn't work at its extreme end. But that is one approach to one way to think about it, I guess. My cat's litter boxes do not spark joy. Fair. Yeah. They would not spark joy for me either. Oh my God. My one grandma used to take ketchup packets, and when she died, we had to empty them all out of the fridge. Yeah. There's common free things. Value getting things that are free when you can is something that's, again, very not exclusive to that generation, but does tend to be a higher impulse in that generation of people, right? Because remember, if you grew up with scarcity in any of those regions, in any of those realms of life, then of course you're going to have difficulty letting something go because, to like you've lived through it, or your parents have lived through it and drilled it into your head that we do not waste. The fear of waste is something that is commonly identified as an underlying driver for individuals with hoarding disorders. They don't want to be wasteful. But the counter argument when you're thinking in your head, well, I don't want to be wasteful, and you want to keep the thing even though you have 10 of the thing, is, well, if it's not going to get used and it's just going to sit in a pile in your cupboard, then it's still going to waste, right? So that's one of the cognitive ways that they like circumnavigate these types of problematic motivations and thoughts. And again, it's not so much that it's right or wrong. Is it maladaptive in that situation? Is it causing harm or dysfunction to that individual, right? Without saying names, you know her. So many things in her place. And her Ouija board. Do I know him? That grandma? That was a long time ago. We got a really cool book from there, didn't we? It was like about the apocalypse happening in like 2001 or something. It was like a book written in the 80s. It was amazing. And this was after 2001 that we got this book, of course. Anyways, my ex's parents used to hoard after living through the Depression. They had so much expired food in their house. Yeah, because like, keep in mind also, like, I don't know if anyone lived through Y2K. Muse Clues, where you at? the doomsday preppers, this is a thing. This is like a thing in our culture still. It's just repackaged in different ways, right? That grandma and her beef with Lady rude. I'm sorry. It's because when I say things that I'm like, someone else has to know what I'm talking about. Usually you're the one that knows what I'm talking about when it's about things that are like classics. I did not mean to out you, but you know what I'm talking about. You don't have to have lived through Y2K to know about Y2K, but having lived through that and knowing the kind of like vibe of pandemonium and like prepping that people were doing, Lord. Like I wasn't that old when that happened, but zoinks. Anyways, yeah. So there's kind of two schools of thought, I guess, about how to deal with this. And this is something, Dame Karen, I remember Y2K, but I didn't prep, nor did I. I wasn't old enough to prep. I think I had a Tamagotchi, probably prepped him, gave him tons of snacks, cleaned up its poop. Now I have a real life Tamagotchi. Anyways, an important thing to remember, and I've kind of harped on about this, is something that's covered in what's called dialectical behavioral therapy that they tend to use for the treatment of different personality disorders, such as borderline personality disorder, is that two things can be true at once. Something can be useful and it can be wasteful to throw it away, but it can also be adaptive for one individual to throw it away. Those two things can very much be true. We shouldn't have a whole bunch of single-use plastics, but that doesn't mean that you should keep all the single-use plastics that you ever use in your home. You know what I mean? Those two things are true. So recognizing that two things can be true at the same time is a really important part that I think like people should carry through just in general in life, right? I remember being very disappointed that nothing happened. Yeah, same. I remember being like, all right, here we go. It's going to be the apocalypse. We're going to be camping for the rest of our lives. Let's go. And then nothing happened. The techie nerds did a lot of work most of us knew nothing about and avoided issues. Yeah, exactly. People being like, turn your computer off, blah, right? I don't know. It's just funny to think about, right? We talked about Ezra Pizza. Thank you for the lurk. Appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for lurking. Thanks for lurking around here. We appreciate lurks. We appreciate participation. We appreciate just anyone being around, you know? Yeah, so one of the most interesting parts about the research that I was looking into is this woman. I can't remember her name. I'm going to pull it up. I was going to pull it up on the internet, but I don't want to make us go like 0 frames per second again. So I'm going to pull it up on my phone. I kind of wish that I had tea. I didn't get tea today because it's been like a bajillion degrees, but I kind of wish I had tea now. But that's okay. Hoarding. Where's my hoarding one? Oh, Jan Eppingstall. She's an Australian researcher. She's got a book called Stuffology. And she talks about the anthropomorphism. This is a little bit of a freebie for you guys. There hasn't needed to be a channel redemption for you to get the Aussie accent. And for those of you that are new around here, I just sometimes do it for shits and giggles. And then sometimes I just transition back to my normal accent. That's just part of the chaos. So if you don't like it, you can kick rocks, But, don't kick nice rocks. I have really nice rocks, got like gemstones and stuff like that. Anyways, there is, don't tempt me, I need to save points. Do you really? You've had points since like the dawn of time on this channel. What are you saving them for? I don't even have that many things to redeem. If you guys have ideas for something that could be a channel point redemption, you can drop it in my Discord or here and I'll forget about it. Discord's probably the better thing, but I need to stick the sticker. That's all I'm here for. Yeah, stick the sticker. That is one of the better channel point redemptions. If anybody's new around here, I love stickers because I'm 5. And I've got a bag of stickers, and if people want to redeem the sticker channel point redemption, they get to choose what sticker it is. So we've stuck Antonia here. This is Science's one of their little characters. I don't know. Super cool. She's playing the guitar. This one I stuck myself. Amazing. That one I stuck myself. This one was Nanners last time. Got this. Nanners 007. Bepsy. That's just me. What other ones have we stuck? The Fennec Fox. I believe that was Risto that stuck the Fennec Fox. Potions. Was that you, Dougylicious? I think Potions might have been you. Anyways. Oh, no. Ramen Fox was also Nanners. Anyways, a sticker. Yeah, so to that end, if y'all are interested, I love sticking stickers so much that I have a tattoo that says stick the sticker. So in this economy, we can never have enough with the pointflation around here. Is there pointflation? I just arbitrarily picked numbers based on like what I had seen other people's things. So I'm Australian, by the way. That makes me feel awful about my terrible accent. I'm sorry. I probably offended your people. I very much, I won a second one too. I've checked my mail relatively recently because Science does raffles, as does Risto. Everybody be doing raffles. So I've got tons of stickers to be sticked. Good dynamite. I already did it. It's so much better when I do it just off the cuff. Otherwise, I get a little bit stressed. And then it starts to go a little bit like maybe Kiwi or a little bit British. But sometimes it's just nice. Jan Eppingstall, Stuffology. She talks about anthropomorphism. That's okay. It's a redeem. I'll try and ignore it. Listen, I have tons of Australian friends, and that's kind of the reason why I do it. And also, just keep things colorful. Sarah J. Quantum Hola, first time chatter, welcome. Hey, how's it going? I'm Neuralicia. I'm a neuroscience PhD student. I like talking about neuroscience. Today we're talking about hoarding and clutter and clearing your mind and clearing your life. Needs more swearing, in my opinion. It's true. No, not the squares. You want to know what? Yeah, you guys say cunt a lot more, which I just love. Really like that word. This is not a PG stream for anybody that didn't get that. I think there's a little thing that like reminds you when you log in, but yeah, if you like to swear around here. Oh yeah, I was reading about this anthropomorphism that this woman had. Oh my gosh. No, not the swears. I don't love it. You don't love the C word? I apologize. I think I'm taking it back. I think that like it's been misappropriated and it's such a powerful word for such a powerful part of our wonderful female anatomy that I love it. But I'm not here to make anybody else feel uncomfortable, so we'll steer clear for now, but can't make any promises that it won't pop up at some point. So anyways, we talked a little bit about anthropomorphism when we talked about Parasocial relationships last time. Calling it weak is just silly. Yeah, exactly. Strong ass C word. But anthropomorphism is the tendency to ascribe human characteristics to non-human things. So this can be living animals, plants, objects, literally imaginary things, you name it. And our ability to do that as human beings is quite powerful. And interestingly enough, there's research to suggest that people that are on the autism spectrum have a greater ability to anthropomorphize and relate and empathize with non-human things like animals and characters than they do with other human beings, which is really interesting because a lot of people think that individuals with autism spectrum disorder that are on the autism spectrum lack the ability to have empathy, and that is just a degree of how much you lack the ability to express empathy. But they are able to express empathy. It's just hard for them to relate to human beings in the same way. So this seems like this anthropomorphism and ascribing characteristics to objects and animals and stuff like that, which you can hoard animals, don't forget that. Is something that becomes adaptive. When you can't do that with your fellow human beings, we still need love, we still need affection, we still need all of those things. And if you look at very rare cases of severe neglect in human individuals, you can usually discover that they do create their own relationships with whatever they've got around them, whether it be being raised by animals, like some cases from like the 50s, they talk about like wolf babies and stuff like that. People being raised by monkeys. I was just watching this really interesting interview with a lady from Colombia that was kidnapped and left to go for monkeys or to like live with monkeys. Anyways, suffice it to say that anthropomorphizing can be something that we use that's really adaptive. We talked about the sad little IKEA lamp. We talk about, not wanting to throw things away because we don't want to hurt their feelings. My dad used to convince me to eat food when I was being a petulant child and being like, no, I don't want to, by being like, but Allie, if you don't eat me, all the other hamburgers, I'll be lonely, kind of thing. And I would be like, I'm sorry. And I would immediately eat it. And even now, that works on me now. I have multiple degrees. I'm a neuroscientist. I know that these things, like, not that you need to be a neuroscientist to know, like a water bottle doesn't have feelings, but like, I wouldn't want you to be mean to my little raccoon or to sweet little Antonia, but it is just a fucking sticker. And these are just characters. But as we talked about in the previous one, in the previous stream on Vulgar Science on Monday, we can ascribe all kinds of feelings and characteristics to things that aren't real, that are utterly imaginary. And people tend to do that. And the tendency to anthropomorphize correlates very strongly, has a strong positive correlation or relationship with loneliness. And we know that loneliness and isolation is a really big main characteristic of hoarding disorder, right? So you can start to see where these things kind of come in, even though at its face value, you wouldn't think that anthropomorphizing would have much to do with hoarding disorder. So the raccoon is lonely. Well, he's not lonely. He's got Antonia and little Snoopy, beaded Snoopy in his coat, and the xenomorph. So everyone's just having a great time over here on the water bottle. They put that in kids' books, and it weirds me out. How can you care about food and eat it? Well, so I assume what those books are doing is trading on the fact that we as human beings really like to ascribe value and meaning and intent, sometimes even on other individuals, right? One of the heuristic thoughts, the pervasive thoughts that we have as human beings, that's a flaw, a logical fallacy, is because what's called the fundamental attribution error, which is the tendency for us to ascribe deficiencies or bad actions by others to their personal characteristics, not their surroundings, and vice versa in ourselves. So, if someone cuts you off in traffic, you're like, F you, that guy's an asshole. Maybe he's driving his pregnant wife to the emergency room because she's about to deliver a baby. You know, like, and we don't know the context of the things, but our tendency as human beings is to ascribe something very personal because it's easier for us to relate to things that are familiar to us, right? As fellow human beings. So, but more stickers. I mean, we can get more stickers on here. I like stickers. There's a book my niece has where the plain ice cream is sad because she doesn't get picked, but if she gets picked, she's dead. Well, okay, so I think that's probably more about trying to be nice to your peers and just using like a safe kind of way to do that, more than anything. I don't know. I would hypothesize. I don't know the motivations of this author, but you know what I mean? But that sort of thing, you can see how that conditioning early on in life, I can't remember who it was that said it earlier, that, you know, can it start in childhood? Yes, it can. And you could see where that would start to be problematic if you didn't tell the children, like, hey, it's make-believe. Ice cream doesn't really have feelings, but this is meant to show us that you can't exclude other blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Far be it for me to give parenting advice. Me and children are not a thing. But anyways. Oh, I redeemed a sticker. I'm here for chaos. Did I miss it? Oh, I missed it. Okay. Here we go. Well, you've seen most of them. I don't think I have other ones. Oh, I do have other ones. Hold, please. Hold, please. I actually have a whole bunch that Dougie Licious gave me. So there's more than even the ones you saw before. Anyways, I assume if someone drives like a dick that they have to poop. That's probably a good way to kind of reason with yourself that they're not just like full-blown assholes. Okay. We've got so much here. I'm going to go through them real rapid fire. We've got cute animals, baby peacock. We've got science, balloon words. We've got Rat Boy is my savior, which is my friend Rory's mini painting business. We've got mental health matters, flower brain thing. Bunny. Strawberry skull. NASA? Question mark. Pufferfish. Dog. Triceratops. Ladybug. Deer. Shark. Crossbill. Rainbow taco. That's gay. Just saying. G'day, mate. Because my friend Rat Boy is Australian, or well, half Australian. Wolf. A heart's a heavy burden. A hollow. Vibes Risto rock sticker with a little alien dude. Risto hollow starseed. Other starseed. I don't know. They're all starseed. Rainbow taco because it's gay time. Yeah, happy Pride, folks. This is a safe space for all individuals, including those on the LGBTQIA+, part of the universe, which I am a part of. I'm a B. I'm a bi. Hi, bi. And it's Pride Month. So, all right, where are we sticking it? This is much less sticker stuck. This one's quite sticker stuck. But I'm fine with either. Cute. Anyways, yeah, it is cute. Where do you want it? Where do you want it? I'm thinking it's going to go on the teal one. The teal one's going to go with me to Europe. So if you want it to go to Europe, Bepsy. You want it to go near Bepsy? Okay. It's going to go near Bepsy. I'm having some issues getting it unstuck from the backing. So see how I have like a zillion stickers, and that could be seen as pathological by any person with a sane mind, but it's not pathological because it brings me so much effing joy, except for when I have to get the fucking backing off. You guys, this is going to take me 85 years. Oh, use clues. Is that a little plump little bee? Oh, it's cute. Wait, is it wearing a Pride colors? It's so small. I'd like to know more. Can you tell me more about... It says Pride when I like hover over it. because I'm going to throw it. I got it. I was just going to say I'm going to throw a temper tantrum. It's a pride emote. What's it being proud of? What's its little colors? It's got green. What are those ones? Is it? Okay. I'm going to put it over. Should I put it beside Betsy or beneath Betsy? Oh, it won't fit beneath Betsy, so you don't get to choose. Sorry. All right. It's going to go. I'm going to put it on. I'm going to put her on a tilt. All right, here we go. Here we go. Look at this. Satisfying. Ooh. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Sorry, my nails are gross. I'm going to redo them right before I leave so that they don't grow out too much. There we go. A rainbow taco, because, you know, they love a taco around here. She's filthy. It's vulgar. It's not even vulgar science. It's Pride Bee. Nanners. What are yours, Nanners? What is that one? I can't tell. Is it the pan one? Is it pan? I can't tell. Anyways, whatever it is, everybody welcome around here. So happy Pride Month. Happy Pride Month. I'm really liking all the memes that non-binary. Huh. I don't know all the rainbows. Look at this. It's being bisexual right now. Did you see that? Loved that. Everything's in alignment right now. But I need my notes back. So we were talking about anthropomorphizing things and how that can be maladaptive or adaptive. And I would say one of the interesting things that I found when I was listening to the podcast is that, like, you know, not wanting to throw something away because you don't want it to feel bad or neglected or any of those sorts of things is something that obviously could be very maladaptive if you're someone with hoarding characteristics or a full-blown hoarding disorder or tendencies towards that. But on the other hand, there's something where you can anthropomorphize kind of a voice in your head. And stay with me on this. This is going to sound zany at first if people haven't been in this type of therapy before. But specifically with lots of disorders where, you know, there's kind of a rational way of thinking about them and then an irrational way, and that those are kind of like really diametrically opposed. So things like eating disorders, like the impulse to binge. You know, lots of people in treatment are told to try and disassociate that voice from the voice that you want to listen to, your normal brain, so to speak. And it's not to say that that voice is necessarily bad. Like, this is something that I would definitely do under the supervision of a therapist, but I've personally used this technique with some success, is to acknowledge, hey, that thought that is in my head doesn't reflect my real values and what I actually am wanting here. This is a maladaptive thought. This is something that I've been conditioned to think, or that is, reflective of a different emotion. So digging into, okay, first of all, that's not true. So you can actually do that a lot easier when you're not denying what you see as yourself. So if you kind of personify, make a second person, anthropomorphize a version of someone in your brain, that you can easily say no to, because it's easier to talk to someone else than it is to talk to yourself in a lot of ways, especially about difficult topics. So when I was, seeking treatment for various things, having that be like, I called it bad Alicia. Some people straight up name it. They're like, oh, Nicole. Or, you know, some people picture it as someone that they dislike, like Donald Trump or something. So it's easy to say no to that impulse, to that part of your brain. So if you're in any kind of recovery for substance abuse or a behavioral disorder, including, you know, things that are addiction related or hoarding or eating or whatever, then it can be really useful to anthropomorphize the idea of something and create a literally imaginary enemy that you can make a target of those thoughts, so that you can have that discussion and reason through things when you're in the absence of someone explicitly there to support you, right? Because of course you would want to talk to your friends and your therapist and stuff like that, but that's not always easy to do. Lots of the times we don't want to bug people, right? So this is something that I found very useful, and you could see where it would be useful in hoarding disorder. You know, like you're going to throw away this pen, right? And you're like, you know, oh, but it still kind of works. Like, it's a little bit dry. It's one of those felt ones. It a little bit works. You know, I might need it. And then the check would be like, hey, Nancy, we've got 1,000 other pens. This one barely works. No one's going to find value in this. It's not wasteful to get rid of it because you're going to choose a different pen anytime that you go to your little pen cup. This isn't going to be the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, etc. It's probably going to be like the 25th out of your choices. So it is going to waste anyways. Nancy, put the thing in the fucking trash, right? And that's how you would reason through that. And you can do it out loud or in your brain. In response to pretty much any urges. Like, again, when you have characteristics, if you're non-neurotypical, or even if you are neurotypical, but this sometimes happens to you, where you tend to depersonalize or dissociate, I would approach this with caution. Again, I would say do this under the supervision of a trained professional, but it is a technique that they spoke about in some of these podcasts that I was listening to about hoarding disorder, and a technique that I've used with great success for various things on my end. So, that can help, reason through like things being wasteful and whatnot, right? I did check, and that felt tip marker does work, and it's part of a collection of my Bic pens of many colors, which I don't really use anymore. So maybe I should get rid of them. Which brings me to my own personal experience this past week. So in preparation for this, I was like, I'm going to challenge myself to get rid of 100 things. And it can be anything from a pen that doesn't work to a spare water bottle can get donated, and it can be gotten rid of in any way, as long as it's out of your life. And I would say I limited myself to not garbage. Though after some reflection, I probably should have kept that because I found it very difficult to get rid of these things. If you guys were here at the beginning of the stream, when this safety pin that's like sometimes on the tags of things, when this was poking me, literally, because it was open, I could have just put this in the trash is right there. I could have just put this in the trash, but I was like, oh, you never know when you're going to need a little baby safety pin. I cannot tell you the last time I used a little baby fucking safety pin. So should I put it in the trash? Yes. Yes, I should put it in the trash. Like what? Nancy. I guess the person that wants to hang on to things in my brain is called Nancy. If any of you guys' real names or names of your loved ones are Nancy, I apologize. But you want to know what? That's okay. That's okay. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do it right now. You're getting a live take of my decluttering. Major item here. Gone. It's gone. Anyways, and here's the other thing that they said was to set your own parameters, right? If you're someone with severe... You guys, my apartment is slanted, so it wants me to keep rolling that way. That's what apartments are like here. You're going to regret this when you need a little safety pin. You know what, though? I've probably kept so many that I think I still have plenty. And realistically, I could just go to the fucking dollar store. Not that, and this circles back to wastefulness, especially in like modern society, buying a new thing when you don't need to buy a new thing, keeping and reusing, etc. Definitely good environmentally, but also like not at the peril of your mental well-being. I'm not going to anguish over that safety pin. And part of me could be like, the safety pin was really tiny and really cute. Maybe his name was Steve. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it can get pretty rickety. And it's easy to have that regret. And so there's lots of rules and stuff like that people with hoarding disorder will give themselves. Like once it's in the thrown out or to donate or whatever bin, it doesn't come back. Or you need to take 10 items out a day or 100 items or, donate once a month to clothing or something like that, right? It really depends. Not Steve. You guys, it's working. I'm like, Steve. Now I want to keep him. I'm like, what if he can be part of the channel? I could be like, Steve's here. Steve's fine. Steve is a safety pin. You could see how loneliness, which is something that people, especially as you age, people tend to experience greater loneliness. how anthropomorphizing objects and applying, even if it's not explicitly like giving it a name like Steve and stuff like that, even if it's not that straightforward and that explicit, you could see how ascribing value to things like, oh, this was the coaster that I was using on the day that my granddaughter, was announced their gender at the gender reveal, and I was on the video chat. Like, sure, you can ascribe value to that, and maybe there is real value in that, but it's a fucking coaster, and what a lot of people recommend doing is taking photos of things if you're really scared of that. But then there's also something called digital hoarding that is real. It's a classic community sketch where Jeff calls the pencil Steve and then breaks it. Yeah, I think it's like it's such a common thing that I don't know why I yawned all of a sudden. I'm sorry. It's such a common thing that you can see, there's nothing wrong with that, to anthropomorphize. Like I said, it's adaptive to be able to relate to things in that way. But you can also see where it's been used against us. It's been used to market to us. Think about Siri, Alexa. I don't want to say her name too loud because it'll activate her. And, we talk to even ones that don't have like a name, like, hey, Google. We're still saying, hey, Google. You could just say Google, and lots of people are polite to their Alexas, I've actually, when I lived with Dougie Licious would say thank you to the Alexa sometimes, which is so funny. But anyways, we tend to do that because that's what we're conditioned to do too, right? So I know a Steve, he's hella lame. I know a couple of Steves. They vary on a spectrum of like lame Steve to cool Steve. My brother's name is Steve. I hope your brother is awesome. My brother is pretty great. Well, that's good. I'm glad, Dame Karen, that you have a brother named Steve. That's pretty cool. This was no Steve shade to dispose of. Sorry. Pardon me, Jesus, that like was one of those like painful, weird burps that like comes up on you. Anyways, this was not meant to be a symbolic act against Steves to dispose of safety pin Steve. My classmate says please and thank you to ChatGPT. See, and it's one of those things where it's not even necessarily about anthropomorphizing the thing, but it's also our inclination towards politeness, right? Which is courtesy, which fosters community. These are adaptive things, evolutionarily speaking, if we think about it, right? Like this isn't something that's like, breaking our brains to make logical. But then you can start to see like Jesus in a piece of toast or a piece of cheese, right? And like people start to like get to the pathological end of the spectrum, regardless of hoarding in certain ways by doing that, right? So all I picture is Rod and Todd thanking an automatic door. Rod and Todd. Is that the South Park? Is that South Park? I think that might be South Park. Anyways, it's fine. I don't know things. Simpsons. Okay. Oh, right. Flanders' children. Stupid, sexy Flanders. People say that, right? Oh, you guys want to know something that was weird? This just popped into my head. When I was like prepping my stream for this, for tags, you can have up to 10 tags. I usually have like science, neuroscience, female creator, LGBTQIA, blah, blah, blah. I have like my standards, right? And usually they pop up. But this time during Pride Month, LGBTQIA did not pop up and female creator did not pop up, but science and neuroscience did. Like, they auto-populate with ones that have that same like beginning. Usually when I type in LGBTQ, it'll give me like LGBTQIA2S plus or LGBTQ plus or, the different variations of it. This time it didn't at all. And I'm curious as to why that might be. I was wondering like hate crime? No, not hate crime, obviously, but like subtle homophobia? Or is it something that's meaning to discourage people, like bad actors, from using them inappropriately to profit off Pride Month? Like all the corporations, or to like, do that sort of thing. Anyways, it was kind of interesting. And I tested it and it worked like on a couple of other non-gender or sexuality related stuff. So I was like, what's going on here? Anyways, one of my notes is just Jesus toast, which I just talked about. Yeah. That's the far end of anthropomorphizing. But here's some nifty things that you can do in your own life regarding clutter, regarding doing something, particularly motivation and fear to get going doing something. Within the realm of hoarding is what I'm going to give the example of, but you'll see how you can apply this to your own thing. Probably to stop a flood, because to get on a For You page this month, people would just tag LGBTQ on making Jesus toast. Yeah, you know what, that could be true. And I mean, whatever. There's the plight of the LGBTQ community is hardly one that starts with hashtags as their top priority, but nonetheless, sucks that, it's been commercialized enough that would be a reason to do that sort of thing. And I don't know why I'm yawning so much. Am I hungry? Do people yawn when they're hungry? Maybe I should do a stream on why people yawn. Anyways, one of the tactics that people can use to strategically target things, good old rainbow capitalism, sadly. Rainbow washing. Hoon, this is why you were locked in? Ma'am? Hoon, come here. Sorry, I didn't want to have you guys hear me shout in the microphone. Need oxygen. Usually sleepy, but what do I know? Yeah, it's something about oxygen, but it's not exclusively that. It's something to do with, like, there's a whole bunch of stuff, is what I've heard when I've, like, looked. Yeah, it's to stop hate raids on Twitch. Is that a thing? That fucking sucks. Ugh. You wanna know what really grinds my gears? Homophobia. Fucking patriarchy, man. Hate that shit. Anyways, without getting me into this, without rage baiting myself, let's circle back to the technique that I was talking about. Can you go have a little lay down, my love? You don't need to be involved in that. You can go have a little lay down in your bed, please. This dog. Anyways, she's a little bit stressed because the weather here is supposed to get weird, and I think it affects her, the pressure change affects her ears, so she gets really and just kind of lurks around and annoys. But I also feel bad because I want to comfort her. So the technique that they use in this type of therapy is kind of what's part of what's called motivational interviewing. And again, remember, I'm not a clinician. I'm not a psychologist. I do not treat patients. I am not a therapist of any kind. But I did listen to professionals talk about this being a super effective technique. And that is to, in the case of the hoarder, go into a room that is affected by the hoarding. So somewhere with lots of clutter, maybe it's a bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, whatever, the room in question, and look at the room and evaluate how it makes you feel. Does it make you feel guilty, ashamed, stressed, overwhelmed? All the things. Take a little inventory. It can be formal, it can be informal, it can be in your brain. The more detailed you can get about it tends to be the better. So writing stuff down and doing a little bit of personal journaling and that sort of thing can be it. Or it can just be as simple as look at the thing and do I feel good about this? Or do I feel bad about this? And any of those kind of echelon of these things would be a version of it. So yeah, that's step one of this. And step two is to then close your eyes and try and get a really good, clear visual picture of what that space would look like, de-hoarded, cleaned up, to have it clutter free, to have it be organized, or whatever the goal is for that person, remembering that there's different, kind of severities of these sorts of disorders. Imagining that you can just even enter the room might be a step that they would take if it was a severe case, or if it's a relatively mild case, or they have a lot of support or are super willing and there's not a lot of other comorbidities. It might be to completely de-hoard it, to declutter it entirely and have it be an ordinary room, and really picture that deeply. And then again, take an inventory of how that makes you feel, the prospect of having that. How does that make you feel? And generally, it's going to be excited, proud, accomplished, all of these things. And that frequently can get you to a place where motivation can be a thing. And then I'll remind you that as a motivational researcher myself, in my master's and my undergraduate research, something that's relatively unknown is that people tend to think that motivation necessarily precedes action, and that is not true. We do things that we are motivated to do all the time. So frequently, what you can do, and I know this sounds ridiculous, is just start doing the thing. Because doing, action actually will beget motivation, because of the way that actual movement and action works. The visual flow information and lateral eye movements, even if you're not moving around, say it's like you need to write a paper or something, even the lateral eye movements there will actually downregulate activity in a part of your brain called the amygdala that has a whole bunch of synapses to different area of your brain related to motivation. So it has a direct effect on your dopaminergic system, which is the main transmitter that drives motivation. So actually just getting up and starting doing the thing that you are trying to get motivated to do, even when you have no motivation, can then start that going. So you do this picturing, and that helps you kind of get into the mode where you can even maybe just stand up from your seated position and, even just straighten things out. And frequently that will start things going. So you can use that in your everyday life. You don't need to be a hoarder for that to be useful, I think. But anyways, people even create bots to follow and spam hateful chats. Why? Why are people like this? I do have a problem with digital hoarding. I have a shit ton of games I don't play, but for just in case. Digital hoarding is very much a thing, and I will use an example from my real life for this. So my next door neighbor, who is a literal IRL physical hoarder, is also a digital hoarder. And she came to me the other day. She's like, Alicia, I need help. I can't log into my email, and I need to log into my email because people that are trying to email me are getting a system-generated message saying that they can't email me because my inbox is out of storage. She had 25,000 emails unread. Not all unread, but total. It's insane. So she couldn't receive more emails. And when we were there and I was just trying to log her in, I was like, okay, we need to just delete this and restart. And she's like, oh no, she panicked. And I was just talking about deleting the app and restarting that because it seemed to have kind of a glitchy thing to it. So I was just whatever, on her iPad. And she thought that I was going to delete some of her emails. And she was immediately very distressed. She's like, I've got business emails in there. I've got really important stuff. I'm like, well, you can back that up and you can find these specific emails and that sort of thing. And here's how you batch delete things. And she's like, no, I want to go through them one by one, which is that's the obsessive part that kind of relates to obsessive compulsive disorder when it comes to hoarding. But digital hoarding is a thing. We don't want to delete all the pictures of our pets. I have 1,000 identical pictures of Hoon, and anytime I delete them, I'm like, but what if I want to look at them? And I'll be sitting right beside her. I can look at her with my own face, And I know that's not always going to be a luxury, but surely when my previous dog died, she came up in the time of cameras, digital cameras, and maybe printing out digital pictures every once in a while in early cell phone cam pictures. And I survived that. And sure, it would have been nice to have pictures and videos endlessly, but I made it through. Anyways, so digital hoarding, very much a thing. And you can apply all these same concepts to those sorts of things. Just, you got to alter what you're picturing. I have that issue with digital crochet patterns. And here's the thing. Is it maladaptive? Is it affecting your life? Does it give you distress? Is it, remember that things aren't always pathological. We can have these behaviors and they can be non-pathological. So Neuralicia going a stream without mentioning amygdala challenge, impossible. It's actually funny because I don't study the amygdala. I just recently was on Corey's channel and we talked about this amygdala paper. So it's really fresh in my mind. And also people tend to have this idea about the amygdala being a fear area. It's just a fear area. That's where fear is in the brain. If you get rid of the amygdala, there's no such thing as fear. And the people have done that, and it's just not true. It deletes a whole bunch of other abilities because it's a polysynaptic thing, and your brain is not just one plug going into another plug. It's chaos, right? There's more synaptic connections in your brain than there are stars in our universe, galaxy. I don't know. Someone's done some sort of comparison about something, and it's lots is the point. So it would be obtuse of us to think that one area does one thing, and that's just not true. Anyways, that would be, you guys could have a little drinking game about how many times I say go to therapy and talk about the amygdala, and everyone would be plastered. Ezra Pizza, so relatable. It's true. It's true. I am who I am. And, digital hoarding is a thing. I assume that's what you're talking about. But maybe you're talking about mentioning the amygdala. Do you go through your day-to-day just being compelled to talk about the amygdala? You may be entitled to compensation. I don't know why I'm like this. And you guys, I had the worst back spasm ever yesterday because I've been working from home because Hoon has been so sick that she needs to go out all the fucking time. So my lower back, I'm rubbing my lower back right now. I'm not being some weird pervert with my hand on my pants, by the way. But I was trying to roll my back with my foam roller yesterday. And I was kind of arched. And I tried to get up and my back just went into full spasm, so much so that I was actually exclaimed out loud, ah, ah, crazy noises. And I was my neighbors are going to think that, I actually have, sexual interactions with other human beings, which I don't because I'm painfully single. Add that to the list of things that you can't go an entire stream without hearing. The pet pictures in specific, I have so many pictures of my cats. If you're not on the Discord, you should be, and you should participate in dropping pictures of your pets in the pet pictures. That's kind of the main thing that my Discord is used for at this point. I also have an obsession with lip balm. Anyways, so if you're so interested, I think Discord. There we go. Come join the informed chaos. Sometimes I actually do drop. There's no thirsty emote. We do have spicy though. I will totally join your Discord. I'm a big Discord user. Cool. I am just getting into it. I'm a relatively new streamer, obvi. If you were here for the earliest technical difficulties, you probably would think she's a seasoned pro. But you would be wrong because I'm very much a noob. And I'm a noob to Discord too. But the more that people use it, the more I'm incentivized to use it. And, it's cool. And I love seeing pictures of people's pets. We see pictures of Science's cats every day. And it's so great. And I usually pop pictures of my dog on there. I survived the Great Reset. Yeah, what's going to happen? There's going to be just a VOD of confused chaos. And then the beginning of this stream, if anybody ever actually wants to watch that VOD, it's going to be me that close and everything all zoomed in. Man, that was funny. My face literally hurts. My jaw hurts. Oh my God, ow. Yes. Party 100. Thanks for the party, Sally. Yeah. what were we talking about? Different ways. Oh yeah, motivational interviewing techniques, and that being one of them. I wanted to find this thing before the Great Reset. I had taken pictures of this webpage that had a paper that I wanted open. Anyways, there's something called like a problem-solving technique that they use in different types of clinical applications for hoarding and behavioral stuff and all that sort of thing. And it goes by the acronym RIBEI, like the cut of steak. So what's up, cowgirls? Let's go, girls, as Shania Twain would say. And this facilitates people kind of remembering procedurally like what to do when they get kind of overwhelmed. And this is something that they use in the realm of hoarding when people get overwhelmed, when there's lots of distress associated with getting rid of something, especially if it's an urgent decluttering or de-hoarding of something because there's been people called, if there's sanitation or safety things, like, you know, any of that sort of stuff where you don't get the luxury of time to work through these things. This is one of the applications. So the R in RIBEI stands for relax. Just take a deep breath. Do the breathing technique. Let's all take a deep breath right now, just a little. Ain't that nice? We love oxygen. And the second one is identify the problem. So what's the problem? What are the different ways to get at the problem? You know, in the case of hoarding, this would be, what is the problem? I'm feeling distress about letting go of Steve the safety pin or the gray pen. It's giving me lots of distress. I'm starting to ruminate. I'm starting to spiral. I'm starting to think that I'm being forced into a corner on all these sorts of things, and identifying that as the issue. And then brainstorming kind of a way, that's the B in RIBEI. Brainstorming is, you know, a way for people to just, there's no right or wrong answer, just come up with as many ways to solve the problem as possible. Okay, can you set this down and can we make this decision in a minute? Risto, you're just the sweetest, wonderfulest, greatest friend, you know, ever. And I really appreciate you. Thank you for gifting that sub to Dr. Neurolab, especially to Dr. Neurolab, because not that other people wouldn't benefit from this, but Dr. Neurolab is someone that I know IRL that runs their own neuroscience lab and is very awesome, super cool person. So I'm really glad to have them in the community, and, you know, even more part of the community. And I just really appreciate you doing that. Mwah. You're the best. I'm just sitting here listening. That's fine. You go ahead. You do your lurky thing. I appreciate you in any way, shape, or form. Your presence is always a blessing for us here. Whether it's you know, participatory or lurkatory. I don't know. I'm just saying words now. So yeah, brainstorming in this case would be, okay, no right or wrong answers. This isn't saying that this is the plan. This is saying, you know, just brainstorm possible solutions. One solution, just get rid of the thing anyways. Even though you're feeling activated, even though you're feeling triggered, just do the fucking thing. Throw it in the garbage. Get someone else to do it. Walk away from the room and ask someone else to do that. Pivot your focus onto something else that's a little bit easier. Maybe you're really, this pen is super important to you, but maybe throwing away, I don't know, this paper towel would be easier. And I have a glass desk and I just moved it. That's why I just have random paper towel laying around. I'm not a hoarder. Not that there's anything necessarily intrinsically wrong with being a hoarder. We shouldn't stigmatize that. But, you know, transferring your attention to something that's simpler, a simpler task, breaking it down into a smaller task. Okay, I don't have to necessarily throw it away out of the house right now, but I can put it in the bin of things that probably need to go. You know, and it can be just anything here. You're just literally brainstorming different things, you know, different ways to approach the problem. And then, so that's the B. So we've gone through ribeye. So it's relax. Identify the problem. What's the actual issue? What's your resistance coming from? Where's that emotion coming from if you're going to apply this outside of a hoarding situation? And then brainstorm ways to tackle it. And then evaluate those solutions. Evaluate, okay, so if your goal is trying to de-hoard things and say you're under duress, you need to do it quickly, otherwise you're going to get evicted or something like that, or you need to pass, your landlord's going to come and, determine whether he's going to evict you or not, or, you live in an unsafe house, whatever it is. Maybe that's going to determine that one of the solutions that you brainstormed is going to be logically a better solution than other ones. Because one of the solutions could be just keep it. Let the distress take over, avoid the emotion. And maybe if the emotion is really big and causing you really severe distress, something as extreme as content warning, self-harm, or anything like that. Sometimes those impulses, like things can get pretty big when emotions are getting pretty big. So if the solution is to not deal with it right now, evaluate the solutions that are at your disposal in that situation, and then say yes to one of them is the next letter. So we have RIBEY. Relax, identify the problem, brainstorm some possible solutions, evaluate the solutions, and say yes to one of the solutions. The idea is to do this pretty quickly. And then the last E is to encourage yourself. So if you end up saying, it was really distressing, it was really activating to think about throwing this away, this pen meant a lot to me, etc. It sounds a little bit silly when you talk about a pen, but you can think about things that are, maybe more meaningful or something to yourself in your own examples. And you work through it and you decided, I'm going to put it in the bin of stuff that's to go, but it's not actually out of the house yet. And then you congratulate yourself for working through that moment, for working through those very difficult emotions, and for managing them in a way that is adaptive in that moment. Because remember, anything that is going to promote wellness, short-term and long-term, is something that you should be, encouraging yourself for. So you can apply this sort of ribeye method to anything. Say you're procrastinating writing a paper for school, I don't know, or some sort of work thing, or the pile of dishes in your sink, any of those sorts of things. You can, relax, take a chill pill, take a deep breath. The dishes, no one's going to die if the dishes don't get done, unless it's a very extreme situation, right? So you can just relax, zoom out, and be like, this isn't as big of a deal as what I'm feeling like it is right now when you're overwhelmed in that situation. Identify the problem. Okay, the problem is I don't feel like doing it because I'm tired. I just worked a long day. I'm overworked and burnt out, blah, 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 right? The homework I'm avoiding right now, Ezra Pizza, relatable, and that's completely acceptable. And like, let's use that example then, right? Okay, if you're okay with that, I'm going to use the homework example because maybe that's more salient. So relax. And I will be the first person to tell you I am about to, in about a year, I'll hopefully have 3 degrees. I have F's on my record, multiple F's on my record, on my transcripts. And I got into master's programs. I got into PhD programs at a pretty good university as well. And people, it ended up not mattering that much. If you don't do it right now, there's other time that you can do it. I know that is technically promoting procrastination, but just relaxing and zooming out and saying like, hey, if it doesn't get done, it's not the end of the world. Your family's still going to love you, presumably. You're still going to be welcome here. I don't care if you get your homework done. You're welcome here. This is your community. These are your people. Welcome to the sewer. Right? So relax, identify the problem. Okay, I have homework that I need to do and I'm avoiding doing it because it's not very fun. The problem is it's not very fun, and it's overwhelming and it's difficult, right? Okay, what are some ways that I can tackle this? Brainstorm. Okay, I could promise myself that I'll work on it for 5 minutes minimum. I could do the Pomodoro method where you set a timer and you work for 20 minutes and then you take 5 minutes off. I could tell myself that I'm not allowed to game until I'm done at least one paragraph of the essay. I could get a little phone jail and lock my phone up if the phone is the issue. Literally brainstorming anything in this situation would work. And then evaluate those solutions. Okay, if your homework is due tomorrow, just not doing it, which could be one of the solutions that you brainstorm for the, discomfort that you're feeling, probably not going to work. Waiting for, another hour so that you can watch the rest of Neuralicia stream and then tackling it. Yeah, maybe that's a possibility. Evaluate, go through your brainstorm and see what works. And then pick one of them to say yes to. And then at the end of it, be like, hey, I worked through that. I did that. Encourage yourself while you're doing it. If you even only do something for 1 minute, this is how I got into mindfulness, is I was like, this sounds ridiculous, but I started out where I would give myself props, and I had a little checklist, like a streak in my phone, how many days in a row I've done things, because I find that really satisfying. And even if I thought about doing a mindfulness exercise without actually doing it, even if I just thought about it, I gave myself a check mark. And then every day I would think about it a little bit more, because that was incentivizing, that was activating, that was rewarding for me. And then some days I would be like, okay, I'll do it for like right now. I'm going to be mindful. I'm going to be like, I'm sitting here talking to the universe. That's really cool. I'm talking to people from all over the planet that are amazing. And this is a great little community, and I can feel my breath going in and out, and boom, I just did mindfulness. I didn't sit there and go, for like a half hour. I did mindfulness, right? So giving yourself props and whatever motivational tool and incentive that you can to propel yourself forward, that's going to be, something that's super valuable. Encourage yourself in whatever way you know yourself best. Give yourself a little snack. Maybe you like snacks. Maybe for me, at the end of my degree, I'm going to get a sick fucking tattoo. When I finished my candidacy, I was going to go out with Layla to the Boston Bruins game and have a night out, because I hadn't had a night out in a while, etc. It can be whatever you find motivating. But the point is finding that. So Nana's redeemed hydrate, and I'm behind on chat, so... So you're saying I could go back for a degree one day. One day I'll do the thing. Well, and here's a great thing. We're kind of getting away from hoarding, but I'm okay with it, because this is the stuff that I found really validating and really useful. That seems like it's something that's so not applicable to me. I'm not a hoarder. Look, my place is pretty tidy. But so much of this was so useful to me. Instead of maybe deciding, I am going to go back and do my degree. Maybe while you're listening to me right now, scroll the university's website in your area and see what it takes, just so that I would need to get my high school transcripts out, maybe. I don't fucking know. But, and then give yourself props for just doing that, because that's part of the task, right? A lot of tasks seems really big. It's like, go back and do a degree. Yeah, that sounds fucking easy. Or finish your PhD, do your dissertation. Cool, yeah, I'll just check that right off tomorrow. Of course not. No, I'm going to break it down into, okay, I need to finish some experiments. Oh, I need to find out what it takes to go back and do my degree. I need to decide what I want to go back and do a degree. And maybe you just want to go back to school, but you're deciding between things, and you want to scroll Pinterest and look at people and lawyers and people that became veterinarians and just look at stock images of those two things and see what one looks better. That still counts. Give yourself props. Not everything needs to be an ace, knock it out of the park, and done is better than perfect. Not done is equal to perfect. Done is better than perfect. Done is done, So break things up into minuscule tasks. Even if it's something like, if you're in the depths of depression, and I've been there, sometimes it will be sit up in my bed, stand up, walk to the bathroom, grab toothbrush. And I'm talking, those are individual steps. And I will give myself congratulations at every single fucking one of them. And it's something that actually gets me, I'm a tiny bit emotional right now, because that's really, really fucking difficult. When you are there, when you're super, super down, it can be really difficult to give yourself a high five for stuff. And it's really hard for external sources to see that struggle, because a lot of this is an invisible struggle, right? So do not hesitate to tell yourself that you've done a good job, because every single one of you, even just here listening to me talk about mental health, you are doing something for your mental health. I'm not saying that I'm the be all end all and that I'm amazing or anything, though I am. Thank you very much. But being here and caring, giving yourself space to just enjoy fucking life. This matters, right? So anyways, I'm behind on chat, and I almost cried on fucking stream for the very first time. You guys saw the emotion. She's not a robot. She doesn't have an ice heart. Thank you so much. Nanners, that's so sweet. I really appreciate you giving me the bit. I'm in the same boat. Eventually I'll just do it. Getting started can often be the biggest challenge. Yeah, Corey, you're absolutely right. 100%. It's hard to sneak around in life. Meditation is awesome. It really helps me a lot. Yeah. Well, and I don't draw a line between meditation and mindfulness. I find I have a mental barrier about meditation, because for me, meditation is something that's very and very structured. And I think mindfulness is something that whether or not this is true is neither here nor there. My day-to-day kind of experience, though, is I can be mindful any time that I am awake, and that's amazing for me, because I need something to be accessible. I need to feel like I can pull that tool out of the air anytime. Whereas for me, in my head, the way I conceptualize meditation is maybe when I need to be a bit clearer. Right? So in any event, depression is hard. Yes, it is. It is. And it's a real problem. And depression is a comorbid thing with so many disorders, including hoarding disorder, right? So hoarding disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, anxiety disorders, eating disorders, compulsive, you name it. Personality disorders, lots of these, very few of them don't have depression or depressed mood or negative affect or any of those sorts of things associated with them. It's across all of it. You do not need to have diagnosed, I'm depressed, depression to experience the negative effects of that. So use every fucking tool you've got, you guys. But I have the bipolar, so it's every day. I'm very sorry to hear that you struggle with that. And I appreciate you sharing that with me, because bipolar disorder is something that's very difficult, and struggling through those emotions and experiencing things like that is something that I don't have personal experience with, exactly that disorder, because I do not have bipolar, but I certainly have experienced aspects of, mania and that sort of thing as a complex of the other myriad. The fruit salad that is inside my brain does have those characteristics. And I think it's important to remember that, a lot of these things are comorbid, and a lot of disorders, particularly bipolar, depending if you have type 1 or type 2, but for both of them, you feel things more strongly, because everybody knows what depression feels like. You do not need to have depression to understand what depression feels like. Everyone has been sad, and everyone has probably been really sad, unless you have extreme pathology. But for people that are neurospicy, these things tend to weigh a little bit heavier, and our brains are wired against us to make it more difficult to climb out of whatever kind of difficult headspace that we're in, which is why I talk about this, proverbial toolbox, and why I think it is so important to give yourself the little snaps, because all of the progress that I have made in all of my mental health journey, which has been a very trying journey, has been incremental. I will say with almost 1,000% certainty that none of the progress that I've made has been leaps and bounds. It's not like I woke up one day and was like, oh, all that therapy finally caught up. It is like going to a gym. You don't get to go to the gym for 8 hours a day and then get swole. You go to the gym 16 times for 30 minutes a day. And then you see progress. Or break it down. You like stretching, you start small, and that incremental progress is what makes the biggest difference. And that's why I'll remind you guys of that 1,000 times. You guys are so sweet, all these hearts. Oh, never thought that. I don't know what we were talking about at that point. I'm so behind on chat, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, I skipped even that. Perfection is the enemy of progress. Yes. Okay, Nanners. So I have an issue with breaking things down into steps and still struggle because the fullest of items is then just as overwhelming as due a degree. And that is something that I think is common because a list is scary. Just as much as one big thing is scary, a list is also scary, right? Which I think is something that you have to know yourself a little bit as an individual to be able to circumnavigate that in a lot of ways. But you can start with different lists. Start with a list make a list and have that be one little thing, and then you get to finish that list as soon as you start making the second list. And the second list can be, it helps to compartmentalize things and be like, okay, if we're talking about the degree, maybe make a pros and cons list, that type of list where there's not completion aspect to it, but there's still mental organization around it. And it's kind of focusing then mental energies. And I'm not saying that these are going to be ways that are going to fix it, but definitely breaking things down into categorical groups, because it tends to, I relate to this a little bit because I'll start making a list of things that I need to do related to my experiments. And then it'll remind me that, I need to submit my expense report. Fuck. And then I'll be like, well, before I do my expense report, I have to, gather all the receipts. Fuck, my desk is such a mess. I don't know where the receipts are. Oh, I should go check and see if there's some in my wallet. Oh, my wallet's a mess. Oh, I can't remember where, and then it starts to snowball and it gets really ugly, right? So you can actually, try and compartmentalize and tell yourself that you're going to do a very specific thing. It's also, when you have ADHD, is something that's really difficult. And we did talk a little bit about it during the ADHD episode, but definitely setting timers for yourself can prevent you from getting into the rumination cycle. And I have found this so useful lately. And I do not have ADHD, but I will tell the bitch, like the electronic Jeff Bezos assistant lady, I'll tell her to set a timer for sometimes 1 minute or sometimes even 30 seconds. And I will be like, okay, you're going to clean and only this one spot. This is the rule. You're going to clean your nightside table. In 1 minute, you're going to make it as clean as possible. And sometimes I get farther and I'm like, I didn't even need a minute. But then I'll be like, okay, then get a rag and wipe it down and disinfect it and wipe the sides or dust the lamp. And, I'll get really into that. And so setting a timer has been really helpful for me. When I do my kitchen, I'm like, okay, spend 2 minutes on the kitchen. If I look at my kitchen and I'm overwhelmed, I'm like, okay, just 2 minutes. And frequently that's enough to make it like, okay, I kind of have my life together. You know what I mean? But these are very individual things. But setting a timer I found is really useful, especially if you set a very short timer. And you can just repeat that as many fucking times as you want, right? It can be like, you have 1 minute, make the bed. Okay, the bed is not made very tidily. You have 1 minute to make it look like a hotel room bed. And then you'll probably get it closer to what you actually want it to look like, right? And you can tune these things to whatever's useful for you. So... there's an app called Super Better. It might help it gamify some mindfulness. Yeah, that's definitely a thing. I've never heard of that. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for sharing the resource, Dame Karen. I appreciate it. I have giant piles of crap that I just want to take to the dump, but it's so hard to do it because one, it's heavy. Two, the emotional burden associated with it. It's a hoard from my later past grandmother. Well, thank you for sharing your experience, Freedom, and welcome back. The emotional experience, sit with that. I mean, use the ribeye method. Use the motivational visualization. If you were here earlier in the discussion, one of the most useful ways that people find to kind of get motivated and activated is to think about it. Like, go look at the pile of stuff. Look at the giant piles of crap, to use your words, that you have that you want to take to the dump that are difficult. Look at them and see how that makes you feel. Guilty, ashamed, overwhelmed, tired, sad because it reminds you of your past, whatever it is. I'm not going to tell you what your emotions are. You're the only one that knows those. And generally, it'll probably be pretty negative. And then picture what it will look like when they're gone. And picture that space in whatever the post version of that space that is ideal for you, what that will look like. And imagine how you'll feel in that situation. And it might not be perfect and wonderful and rainbows and kisses because you won't have the stuff because it's associated with your grandmother, but it might feel maybe completion, closed a chapter. I don't know. Again, I'm not going to project any emotions for you, but yeah. I've literally already taken probably 20 to 30,000 pounds to the dump. Wow. So your grandmother was a true hoarder then. That's very interesting. See, and lots of the individuals we've shared in chat here, we have relatives that are hoarders. It's much more common than people think. The burden from hoarding is often passed to the next generation. Yes, that's a very good point. I don't want to accept this disorder on me, so I'm purging all my stuff and the stuff I don't use. It's healthy. So, and I think right there, you did something that is already amazing, and maybe you were doing it on purpose because we just talked about it, but encouraging yourself, it is healthy. You're doing the right thing. You're purging it. You want to break the cycle. Some of that can be generational trauma too, right? Because remember we talked about earlier it being something that's common in what is currently the older generation for us, which are people that were boomers raised by silent generation people that experienced a lot of scarcity, or were raised by people that experienced a lot of scarcity, right? So that trauma of experiencing scarcity in your day-to-day, not knowing, whether or not your country was going to be safe because, if you're American, all the Americans were out of war and you didn't have, all of that sort of stuff. Even if you weren't living that yourself, that can be passed down in its own way. And this is one of the ways that can happen, right? So breaking that generational trauma is something that is courageous. It is something that is difficult. But the fact that you are trying to do it and that you're trying to break the cycle and make it so that someone else isn't going to inherit the problem after you is something that is super admirable. And I think it should definitely be encouraged and acknowledged for yourself. So good for you for that's a lot of stuff to clean up. And maybe you can make it about, I don't know, it might be useful actually. I should drop the link to this person's thing. This woman's podcast is just called That Hoarder, I think, and it's on Spotify. And she talks about bags of stuff. She's like, my issue is getting bags of things out of my house because I come in and I will have just filled all the bags, and it's exhausting because it's not even making a dent in the stuff because she's a, self-admitted and undiagnosed hoarder. And she's like, so what I'll do is I'll tag it on to something that I already do. So this person's example was that she lives in a city where she has to lock the door and she can't relax until she knows the door is locked. So when she comes in and she knows that she should be bringing this out to the truck or the bin or whatever it is, this bag of stuff, she'll leave the door unlocked and she knows that she's going to have to get up and do that. And then by the time she's up doing that, she may as well do the other thing. And that kind of incentivizes it for her. Not to say that that's going to be perfect and work for you, but you can see where, tuning into these sorts of resources can give you maybe tricks that you wouldn't have thought of. So that is a lot of work you've done. It takes consistency to do that. Me and my ADHD. Yeah, I have to timer to do shit. Yeah. And it's useful. Timering is a, it's a strategy that I use very frequently. I would say almost daily, and it's super useful. And frequently I'll start doing something for 1 minute and I'll keep doing it for 10, and it's a useful strategy. And keep in mind, especially when it comes to hoarding, that a lot of stuff we tie up. Remember, we were talking about anthropomorphizing things, but we also tie up a lot of identity in things, right? I would have a lot of trouble getting rid of this water bottle. I'll actually tell a story. I used to have this water bottle in teal and in purple. And I had to because I am one of those people that I can't go anywhere without my water bottle. I feel naked without it. Which is my own baggage. And I recognize that that's lightly pathological, but whatever. I had it in the part of your bike where you put water bottles, and you can see this is a liter. So like the bottom, it's a fat boy. This is like a normal water bottle diameter. And this is the big boy. So it doesn't actually fit very well in the thing. So I jammed it in one day. That's what she said. That's what he said. That's what they said. That's what someone said. Someone said it. I don't know why. I'm 5. I make these jokes. I'm sorry. So I just like put it in like forcefully, and I was riding home, but like the vibration of riding on the streets over the thing, like the mini vibrations made it so it had come out, and then it fell, like the water in it was such that it fell, and the skinny part, it went in between my chain and the bike frame, and I almost died. I didn't fall off my bike, but I caught it pretty quickly what was going on, and it burned a hole. The friction of the chain burned a hole through my water bottle. But because I had stuck all of my stickers on it, and I had like been like, oh, it's been to Europe with me, blah, 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 I didn't want to throw it away. But it's a water bottle. Its only purpose is to hold water, and it had a hole here. So it's not like it was a hole there, and it could still hold a decent amount of water or be like a vase or something like that. It could do nothing. No usefulness whatsoever. But I didn't want to throw it away. And then basically what I told myself is my motto is stick the sticker, because those things give you joy in that moment, and you don't want to be attached to the joy so much that you can't enjoy the next piece of joy. And I was like, so if I get a new water bottle, I get to stick a bunch of more stickers. And that is this baby boy right here. Look at all these stickers, all that joy, and some of which I've shared on the stream. So that's been great. And that wouldn't have happened if I didn't have to throw away the water bottle that I didn't want to throw away. And the reason that I didn't want to throw it away wasn't just because those stickers were sentimental and stuff like that, but was also because I'm like, everybody knows me. Everybody knows my water bottle. Like, they'll be like, oh yeah, that's Alicia's water bottle. Not that that's impossible to carry it again. This is a very distinctive piece of kit, as is this one. But, things become wrapped up in your identity. And I'm not saying like, I identify as a hydrated queen. If anything, I identify as a California raisin. But, we start to attribute things to ourselves in problematic ways sometimes, or ways that are maladaptive to our own thriving. So more stickers. Yeah, I mean, by all means, if anybody wants me to stick another sticker, redeem them Chan points. You could probably convince me to do one without even doing that. But I did try and make it like relatively expensive channel points wise, because as you know, real estate for stickers is limited. There's just limited spots for stickers, especially when you're like myself, a sticker enthusiast, right? So you start to run out of real estate, and I don't like to unstick the stickers. I like to cover them up. So, I guess I got these new, because I'm a streamer, you guys. I'm a gamer. Ooh, they're really cute with the blue. Do we love that? Look at how cute it is, this dusty pink with this blue. Oh. Hi. Hi. Look at me. Do you see this? Look at all this glowy shit in the background. This fucking glowy mic and fucking headphones. I'm a streamer. I'm a gamer. Anyways, the whole point of that was that I could put little stickers on these, right? But also, yeah. Anyways, I just like sticking stickers. I don't think there's anywhere on the mic that I could stick it, unless I actually do have really little baby stickers that I have around the edges of my thing. They're my Hello Kitty stickers. But I would have to dig those out. I don't usually include those in the channel point redemptions, because I assume people would be bummed if they just got to redeem a little baby sticker. But maybe I'm assuming that you guys value size more than is actually true. Who knows? I also found, this is a real, this was a find, you guys. So as I was going through my stuff, because I challenged myself to get rid of 100 things as like a personal decluttering moment, and also to see if I could do it. I could not do it. I'll tell you how many items I got to if I can. Look at this. This is my count. 100 things gone. That's how far I got. You guys, that's 17 things. I've been doing this for days. It's difficult to let things go. I could probably hit half of that just by getting rid of some of these pens. But you want to know what? I went through all the pens and pencils and they all work. And I'm like, I'm not going to throw away a working pen. That's fucking stupid. Do you want to know what? Every single time I'm writing something, I grab one of two pens. I don't know where the one of it. Uh-oh. Oh, here it is. It's because I was using it. I grab this pen that has a little peacock at the top that he's almost worn off. Uh-oh. Why can I not do this? I'm not a streamer. Anyway, it's got a little peacock at the top. And it's got a little peacock feather there. Which, if you know me in my real life, I quite like peacocks. I quite like all birds. But anyways, I always get this one. It's a 7-year pen. If you guys like, if you ever find a 7-year pen, they're amazing. I used to have a matte black one that said feminist, and it had a little like female icon there. And it got stolen. I was pretty pissed. But anyways, they're magnificent pens. They're black. They're not blobby. They're just, you know, a straightforward pen. No lids. Don't have to worry about lids. And they call them a 7-year pen because they have enough ink to write for a meter a day every day for 7 years. Isn't that amazing? A meter? That's a ton of ink. Anyways, I also have this one that I put a piece of tape on that says my name. And it's got this unicorn. So that's cute. So I grabbed one of these two. This is also a 7-year pen. They just twist to activate. Anyways, the point is, even though I'm trying to get rid of 100 things to declutter and shit like that, and I could go through that and I could get rid of like this pen blows. I actively hate this pen. Okay, it's not that bad actually. Maybe this isn't the same pen. Oh, that's actually kind of nice. Okay, never mind. Which pen do I hate? RBC? Big Bank? Gone. You want to know what? There we go. Chalk one up. Let's go, boys, girls, and NBs. Put another line. That's 18. Woo! We're cooking with gas now. Anyways, that's how difficult it is. For me, not a hoarder, not even close to a hoarder, but have hoarding. It's also heritable. It's slightly heritable, so there is a genetic component to it. But I have hoarding in my family. And it was still difficult for me to get rid of 100 things over the course of days. Granted, I got a little sidetracked, but like it should be easy. I could just go into my kitchen and probably throw out, I don't know. Like there should be many things. But anyways, I have a large DVD collection that's now useless since I have no DVD player. Definitely hard to throw them away. And here's the other thing. You don't have to throw them away. You can find somewhere to donate them or give them away to someone that does have a DVD player. But yes, when things become obsolete, it's tough because there's also like the fallacy of sunk costs kind of applies here. It's not as much, but like because you put money, presumably DVDs used to be like at least $10, if not $25 for the fancy special editions ones. They were like 35 or 40 bucks in the heyday of fucking DVDs, and you know, it's completely reasonable. I know people that still have VHS tapes, and you couldn't find a VHS player to save your life. And who wants to watch stuff on VHS when you can watch it other ways? Anyways, it's whatever. Even donating them would be difficult. Well, and here's the thing. You can work through the visualization that we talked about for the motivational visualization, or you can do the ribeye method. Like, why is it difficult? You know, what about it is difficult? Is it the fact that you spent a lot of time? Is it that you think you might watch them? Like, you know, try and get down to the why. of these things. And frequently, I mean, sometimes if you dig deep enough into these sorts of things, you get to like it reminds me of my childhood, and my inner child isn't feeling very nurtured because I need to repair it. And it starts to get a little bit, and you start to get into some more difficult emotions. But sometimes you don't even need to get that deep. And it can be like, hey, this isn't really about that. I'm not having trouble throwing away because of this. I'm having trouble because, I need to indulge my inner child a little bit more. So maybe you can sell the DVDs for like 25 cents a pop. This isn't necessarily me suggesting this. This is me using your example and extrapolating it. Maybe you sell the DVDs for 50 cents a piece or something like that, or batch sell them for $20 or something like that. And you take that and you go to Dairy Queen and you get yourself a dipped cone and you just sit there and eat it like a child. Dipped cones are not $20, but, or you go get yourself like an adult coloring book and some, pencil crayons or something like that, right? And that's the way, if that is the reason, I'm just extrapolating using your example, but there are ways that you can kind of encourage yourself to take the move and to kind of take the sting out of something that's a little bit more difficult. And I am talking about this as if it is easy. It's not necessarily going to be easy, but there are strategies that we can use to kind of tackle that, right? So, anyways, thank you so much, everybody, for like sharing these kind of like personal, experiences and stuff like that. It's really one of the things that I enjoy most about the channel and doing this is like talking to y'all and hearing about things. And speaking about Freedom's experience and it being difficult because of the relationship to the grandmother and our identities being tied up and stuff, one of the things that you can do is, and this is kind of related to the KonMari or Marie Kondo method, is saying thank you to this stuff. If you've anthropomorphized the thing, if you, valued the thing a lot, or if it's tied up in your identity or your valuation with a relationship with someone else, you can take those things. And if that's really what it's about, then, if there's items that remind you of your grandmother or your uncle or your aunt or whatever that you're having difficulty parting with, then go and indulge that, because the fear of losing that connection is what's making you want to keep the thing, right? In this case, that's the true motivation. So if you go and you actually give that feeling some space, feel the feeling, it's not necessarily going to be easy. Again, I'm not saying these things like, oh, you just go do it, check it off your list. But going and engaging with that difficult emotion and how much you miss them, or how much you're going to miss that part of you that you're letting go by letting go of this item. This can be the case with clothing for a lot of people, especially if there's been a size fluctuation or shape fluctuation. People talk about this when they change clothing when they've had mastectomies and stuff like that. These are difficult things. So I guess content warning, if you'd like to disengage, I completely understand. Because this is a little bit heavier of stuff, but grief isn't something that's only attached to living things. Grief permeates our existence in so many ways. And actually, one of the first streams that Risto ever did that I watched, not that Risto ever did, one of the first streams that I ever watched that Risto did was about dealing with grief and how grief can be really complex. There's such thing as complex grief. And a lot of that gets tied up in stuff. And because we have identity and relationships and that sort of thing that are tied up in the things and make it hard to part with. So by not dealing with those emotions, we're kind of letting that stuff really anchor in and settle in and get covered in a whole bunch of other emotions, like being stressed about not having access to these items. Like, what if I need it one day? Well, then you could just go out and buy it. So that's not really the thing. It's because, all of the underlying emotions. So what can help is to literally thank the stuff, grieve the stuff, grieve the relationship that the stuff represents. Grieve the version of yourself that you were when that stuff was relevant, and if it ever was. Grieve the version of yourself and the version of your life that you wished would have happened and never did. And those items are, still, maybe you bought clothes hoping you'd fit into them. I'm talking a lot about size because this is something I relate to, but maybe you got a whole bunch of an easel and paintbrushes and a whole bunch of oil paints and spent like hundreds of dollars on this thing because you wanted to pick up painting and you never did. So when you look at that thing, you feel guilty. You're like, I'm a lazy bastard. I never did the thing. And sometimes that will help you get rid of the thing. Sometimes it'll help you engage with the thing. Sometimes it'll, pick up a whole bunch of difficult emotions. There's not one right way to do it, but the one wrong way to do it, or maybe not the wrong way, but the way that's going to lead to more difficulties downstream, is to not deal with it, right? Action is always going to kind of be the way forward. And I don't mean necessarily action as in like, do it now, super pressurized, but, the action can be simply to mentally engage with something and examine your relationship with something like that. What's my oldest piece of clothing that I still wear? Probably one of my chiffon button-ups from American Apparel, if I count stuff that I purchased. Both of which are here. I'll show them to you. I like them. That's how much I wear them. They're top of my hooks. So they are these oversized, one size chiffon button-ups that I use kind of as a modesty layer if I dress like my hoary self for a professional event, or if I need like a light layer of warmth, because they're like not silk chiffon, they're like poly chiffon. Anyways, they're cute. They're oversized. I have this black one, and then I have a plaid one, so it's kind of like a little like modern take on like a grunge kind of look. And I got those when I worked at American Apparel in 2010. So these are 13 years old. I've been making lunch. I hope your stream's been fun. It has been fun. It's been a bit of a heavier one as far as the chaos is usually concerned. Some of the chaos today was a little bit droopy, but I appreciate the question that you asked, and that's a good question to ask. I also have like vintage items that are of undetermined age. I have things that used to belong to my dad or my grandfather. Like I have a Roper's button-up that I think was my grandfather's. So who the fuck knows how old that is? He maybe only got it 5 years ago. Maybe he got it 20 years ago. Yeah. Saffron. I've never owned chiffon. I've never owned real silk chiffon. I only have 2 silk items. Silk is very expensive. It's also like not incredibly ethical if you care about bugs, which I do. I like bugs. Saffron Chiffon would be a good band name. That's true. What kind of music was Saffron Chiffon play? I wonder. Would they be like an indie rock band? Maybe female vocalist? It could be like, Ziggy Stardust, like the, alter ego of David Bowie, of course. He could have an alter ego like Saffron Chiffon. That'd be cool. Drag name alert. Saffron Chiffon. Reporting for duty. Please welcome to the stage, Saffron Chiffon. Do I play any instruments? No, I do not. I took guitar lessons for a year and then kept the guitar that I hadn't touched in years for a further 10 years. Just so we're all aware that, people keeping things for no fucking reason happens all the time. And I just, no. I've been tinkering on piano since I was 10. Good for you. Good for you. I wanted to learn the piano at one point, and I did not do it because I actually don't have the discipline or the desire. I have the desire to be good at the thing so that I can produce the music I want to listen to. And when I dug a little deeper, I was like, oh, maybe I just want to listen to piano music. So I just started doing that, and it turns out that kind of solved the problem. So yeah. Easy listening, relaxing music, yeah. I have 2 Rubbermaids of band t-shirts. I refuse to part with them. Shannon, I regret parting with so many of my band t-shirts. I absolutely adore them. I would say pull a Bella Swan and make them into a quilt, you know, or keep them. Keep them. If they give you more joy being there than they do being not there, then, you know, or if the thought of getting rid of them is distressing, then maybe the problem isn't that you need to get over that and figure out a way to get rid of them. But this applies to all things, not just Nanner's pile of t-shirts, but maybe you need to engage with them more. For me, I had so many band t-shirts that I hadn't worn in years. And then what did I do? Took them out one day and I was like, oh, I've been hanging on to these forever. This is when I was about to move across the country. And I was like, Alicia, you cannot bring everything. And I was like, okay, challenge yourself. Wear these sometime in the next month and you can bring them if you actually liked it. And so what I did is chopped the bottom off, made them into crop tops, and now they're some of my favorite shirts ever. Actually, that's how old one of my oldest pieces of clothing is. Hold on. This is a good one, you guys. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. This is going to be great. Where is it? Oh. This is my pride and fucking joy. This is an AFI t-shirt from 2003. So this is 20 years old. From their Death of Fall tour that they did after they released Sing the Sorrow. Sing the Sorrow. It's the one with Girls Not Grey on it. Anyways, you can see it's got a hole. It's got like that white staining in the pit area that happens when you wear stuff with like pit stick for so many years and it like bakes into it. But boy, oh boy, is it cool. And I'm so glad that I didn't get rid of it and that I chopped the bottom off of it, because anybody that knows me or like scopes my social media just knows that this is one of my faves. All of my cropped band shirts are some of my faves. So yeah. Ouch, that's gotta hurt the wrist. Where are we? There's a limit to how many t-shirt holes you can publicly wear. Is there really? What are Rubbermaids? Rubbermaids are like boxes or like rubber, like a plastic bin, storage bin. Oh yeah, Nanner's got it covered. I sometimes see my nieces wearing my sister's old band t-shirts. Bella Swan did that. I didn't mean to reference her. LOL. I mean, it's fine. The Twilight Renaissance is here, and I'm fine with that because sometimes things are so bad they're good. No, there are easy ways to do it that doesn't even involve sewing. Ouch, that's gotta hurt the wrist. What has gotta hurt the wrist? I missed that. Misery I Can't Tear, Sing Sorrow. Yeah, so good. Yeah, I missed that. What did I say? Sing the Sorrow. I said Sing the Sorrow, right? What did I say? I think I said the right thing. It was the Death of Fall tour that they did for Sing the Sorrow when it came out. What did I say? Oh, I see. Oh, because of the stab. Yeah. It wasn't their most popular t-shirt, but I really liked it. And I think it looks cool. You did. I was not very clear. It means Sing the Sorrow in Latin. Oh, I see. Oh, that's cool. I actually didn't know that. That's really cool. It kind of makes sense now that I read it. But yeah, that's my favorite AFI album by far, because it's borderline flawless, and it was the introduction before they got super into the electro kind of like Eurogoth kind of thing. I think it was, I can't remember what the name of the song is, but it's like track 6 or 7. They use like a little bit of the like that like European goth rock would use. And I really like that. And of course, then, you know, that paved the way for like electro alt music to kind of come up. And now dark wave is a thing. Anyways, that's a whole thing. Yeah, tit soak, motherfucker. Sewing isn't the issue. The fabric has stretch, and fabric with stretch can go funky if it doesn't have proper support. Yeah. Yeah, so having like backing and like seam binding and stuff like that, especially if they're like, some of them are going to be jerseys and some of them are going to be blends and stuff like that. It's, yeah, you're right. It's not that simple, especially if you don't want them to get wrecked, right? Because yeah, anyways. Nanners, what's the biggest crafty thing you've made? I can show you guys a crafty thing that Nanners has made. It is also just over here in this closet. I shall bow to your expertise, Nanners. If I did all sorts of little things like that. Yeah, they're just great. I love them. The celluloid dream. I made my grad dress in grade 12 that had a corset and boning, and then a crochet blanket that was hat cross stitch pattern that was the size of twin bed. Yeah, and you're talented. You're a good crocheter. Yeah. I love crochet blankets too. My mom still has this one blanket that my grandma crocheted that's just like dynamite. I need to close this closet. I'm looking at my closet and like talking about hoarding and looking like, tell me, if anybody actually doesn't have the box or drawer of random cords, you get a gold star. You get a prize. I'll stick a sticker for you for free if you don't have the box of cords. And I'm trusting honesty here because everybody has the box of cords. And I was just looking at my box of cords. That's why I was getting upset about the whole thing. Boning is censored for me. LOL. That's hilarious. I'm out of water. Luckily, I got a second one. That's amazing and ridiculous. It's called that because it used to be done with whale bones. It's true. It's true. I'm in charge of organizing the box of cords at work. It's nightmare fuel. It sounds like nightmare fuel, to be honest. My box is nightmare fuel, but I'm like scared to throw anything away because one time I threw away the cord to charge my vibrator and I couldn't ever find it again. So like, goodbye vibrator. This was a while ago, but yeah, cords. Oh, I see. Cords. Surely people don't have a box of musical notes. Yeah, I don't know. I'd be dead if I did that. Yeah. That took a turn I was not expecting. Listen, we'd been keeping it so PG. Your girl's got to keep things spicy. Can't let things get boring up in here, even if it's not a vulgar science day. You just got to do vibes for all, yeah. And we want to destigmatize, like, if sex is nice, I'm not sure you've said fuck yet. I said fuck earlier. For sure I did at the beginning of the stream. Especially when things weren't going well. Maybe that's when my audio wasn't working. But anyways, I said what the fuck probably like 1,000 times. Sorry for making you guys have such a mundane. No, it hasn't been mundane. This has been a great stream. I've had a great time. I don't think my cords are organized enough to be in a box. Dun, dun, dun. Thank you for reminding me to charge shit. Yeah, charge your vibes, girls and guys and people. Or get battery powered ones, I suppose. That's a thing. Yeah. And hydrate. People actually also do the anthropomorphizing. It's not always sentimentalizing things, but people will get like pissed at things. Like, I don't know, if you like knock into a door and you're like having like one of those days, you like look at the door like with like this deepest glare in your eyes kind of thing, like as if the door had anything to do with it. You know what I mean? That happens. And we talked a lot about, we talked a bit at the beginning about this all being about control, right? Because control, this is like my philosophy on most mental health concerns. Control is linked to safety. If we can control our environment, if our environment is familiar and something that we can count on and that we can control within the realms of reality, the more we have that, the safer we feel. And safety, of course, is like a huge evolutionary drive. So if you kind of dial everything back and you think of hoarding as you're hoarding resources, whether they're useful resources is kind of neither here nor there. Conceptually, in a world where there's all of a sudden scarcity, your stuff might be useful, right? And so it might actually constitute an increase in survival ability and safety kind of thing, right? So if you kind of really dial it back to that sort of stuff, it's something that I think is like very relatable for anybody to think about. And it's, when you feel out of control, that's when a lot of people with eating disorders are triggered or activated or have a relapse. Individuals with substance abuse problems frequently have that. Shopping, hoarding, all of that sort of stuff. It's a lot of the time it's about control. So if you can find healthy ways to have control in your life, that frequently will help kind of offload and pressure valve a lot of the things that are kind of building up in other ways. And that can be useful, especially if you have limited access to mental health resources, and that some of your stuff that you want to tackle, if you get down to like what things are really about, are more difficult. If you have trauma in your past, even if you don't have severe trauma, sometimes these things can be difficult to deal with because we weren't taught how to deal with them. So if those emotions feel too big, then find a healthy way to seize control in your life. And it doesn't need to, there's no right or wrong really, as long as it's not harming you or anybody else. But if control is sketching, you have control of that pencil, seize it. If control is going for a walk, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, design your own world. But I get pissed and yell at inanimate objects all the time, especially when it's being a bitch and not listening to me. Especially bolts. I found a hack. Bolts can be solid if they're liquid. What? That's so hard. What's so hard? I'm confused. Anyways, control equals safety reminds me of my cousin being a picky eater when he was younger because it was related to his life being very confusing because his parents were divorcing. He melted bolts? That sounds amazing. Yeah, because remember, like, control and familiarity are intrinsically linked. When we know that, like, if something is familiar, then we know, even if it's familiar and dangerous, at least we know how to deal with it, right? That's why conceptually a lot of people go back to the same sort of shitty relationships and follow that pattern because, yeah, it's shitty, but at least it's a shitty in a way that you're familiar with. So you have sometimes very maladaptive coping mechanisms, but you have coping mechanisms nonetheless. You've been through it. You have a tiny bit of a roadmap. So you have a tiny bit more control than going out into the world of something that's unfamiliar. So a more secure relationship and that sort of thing. And this is starting to get a little bit like, into some more relational sort of stuff and like a psychological treatment-based sort of thing. So again, I will remind people that I am not a therapist or a psychologist of any kind. I'm just a neuroscientist and psychology specialist, from a preclinical standpoint. So just take what I say with a grain of salt, and take what's useful to you and leave what isn't. None of these things are going to be a one size fits all, but yes, it's hot. I use oxyacetylene. It gets really hot. I understand. I read that as melted pubes and was worried for a moment until my brain caught up. Have you spoken about over-control yet? I'm not sure that I'm familiar with over-control. I know that there's maladaptive desire, like to have control, and that manifests in a lot of bad ways, but I don't know about over-control. Yes, loads of them. This is why the thought of my mom helping to clean up my place is slightly terrifying. Okay, because she would come in and like take control, or you would be relinquishing control, or like what about that is problematic? Because I have a hypothesis, assuming Dame Karen is reflective of your gender identity. A lot of women, I'm sorry if I'm assuming your gender, but speaking from my own experience, a lot of women have complex relationships with their mother, especially in the Western world for whatever reason. And that can be related to an inability to feel safe making a boundary with your mother, because at some point the transition of power from parent to not parent, assuming you're an adult, happens. And if during that transition of, implicit power, doesn't become explicit and there doesn't seem to be an acknowledgement of that difference there, it can be really difficult to, not feel criticized, not feel ashamed, not feel guilty, not feel a whole bunch of things associated with that when parents come. And making boundaries about that feels really scary because the power was never formally kind of equilibrated, nor should it necessarily become equal all of a sudden. I'm not saying that's the right way to have a relationship with your parent necessarily, but a lot of it comes from still having this kind of infantilized sort of identity when you relate to your female parent as a fellow female. And I'm not, again, trying to speak your truth, but I do know that that's something that's really common, and something that has come up is I clean my place top to bottom. My mom loves me no matter what, right? And I know that, but I also don't want her to think that, like, I don't want her to nitpick my shit. She came and cleaned my microwave one day, and, like, bless her heart, she cleaned my fucking microwave. Like, thank you, Mom. But I felt really attacked about that. I was like, oh, she's like, when was the last time you cleaned your microwave? And that's a completely reasonable thing to ask, if you're cleaning the fucking microwave, right? And whatever, it might be a tiny bit naggy, but she meant it from a good place, and she's a loving, wonderful person. But that hits a chord way harder than talking about my microwave should. I don't care that deeply about my microwave. I haven't anthropomorphized my microwave. Maybe I'll start calling him Mike. Anyways, I haven't done that yet. But to me, that felt like when it first was activating, I was like, whoa, okay. And because I've gone to therapy a lot, I was like, what's this touching on? Because this ain't about the microwave or the comment about the microwave. This is about feeling like I'm not good enough, feeling like I don't do things properly, feeling like I'm not living up to someone else's standard, feeling like I am not in control in my own home, right? Like I have every fucking right to have a nasty ass microwave if I fucking want to. You know what I mean? So like it had a whole bunch of those emotions wrapped in it. And those emotions are my business, not my mom's, right? Even though she stepped there and that sort of thing. And people's comfort level with explaining that to someone else is variable, and how comfortable you are making boundaries in general, and your relationship with your parents is huge in that. But I could have gone and been like, hey, Mom, I don't appreciate the comments about my home because it makes me feel bad. And she would probably also be like, oh, I didn't mean to make you feel bad. And, that could make her feel bad. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff tied up in even just making that comment, right? So dissecting those sorts of things is something that I think is important. And sometimes, circling back to the more difficult end of things, grieving the relationship that you wish you had with a parent is a real thing. And it's useful. And it's not anything that necessarily says you had a bad parent, but maybe you didn't have the parent that you had hoped for in a couple of situations, and that's a big weight to carry, right? And again, those emotions are your business, not their business, right? So anyways, that was a big diatribe. So hopefully something in there would help. Yes, she would take control and make things unfamiliar. I am she, her, yes. Control the amount of shame or guilt involved. Yes, yeah. She makes me feel all those things: guilty, ashamed, criticized. My mom finds my home distressing. I have a 6-year-old and recently discovered that ADHD that's been unmanaged. Yes, stuff is chaos. Yeah, and my mom keeps telling me that it's really about time I got married. Luckily, my mom gave up on that many, many moons ago. I think she only suggested it a few times, but I wonder when and how moms turn into just regular people in the eyes of their children. Hopefully never. You should have a very special relationship. I think that it's very healthy to have a parent-child relationship, and to completely dissolve a parent-child boundary is also something that's dangerous. We are allowed to want a parental figure, and it doesn't necessarily need to be always your parent formally, right? Like, we have mentors in other aspects of life. We can be our own parent in a lot of ways. Pardon me. And that sounds really like, be your own parent. And to some degree it is. But at the same time, It's unrealistic and also difficult to access, especially if someone's not receptive to that. And you can control how other people act. So, like, you get to determine your own boundaries. Like, hey, sometimes your boundary needs to be with yourself. Like, hey, I need to make a boundary where I am not going to hold out hope that my parent is going to act in this way because that's the parent that I wanted all along, or the parent that I need right now. So my boundary is I'm going to, not pursue that knowing that I'm not going to likely get that, or I'm not going to hope that they won't act like that and hint at it, and know that they probably are going to act naggy or whatever it is, right? So you can make your own boundary there. And then a way to supplement that would be, maybe talk to someone, talk to yourself, ideally, again, a professional, but reparenting. And again, this is really one of those things that I used to roll my eyes at a lot. But dialing back and asking what the child version of yourself is throwing a tantrum about when you're having a big emotion, whether it's actually an outward tantrum or not. If you're having a tantrum in here, what's going on? Sometimes you're hungry. But a lot of the time it's, I don't feel fucking heard. I don't feel acknowledged. I don't feel respected. I don't feel whatever. And so sometimes, okay, let's just take the I don't feel heard thing. I feel like my mom doesn't hear me when I say, like, I don't appreciate those comments, or, she doesn't see me when I kind of wilt and get sad when she nags me. So sometimes go in your car or somewhere where it's not going to cause a ruckus and just say the things out loud. Literally say the things out loud, so that, like, you want to know what? At least one person's hearing it. Yourself, right? Talk to your dog, talk to your cat, talk to Twitch, talk to, record yourself. Talk to your imaginary friend, anthropomorphize a safety pin and talk to safety pin Steve, and then, provide yourself these things. I think it's so easy to find so much areas that we want to improve and areas that are distressing to us, that we forget that as much as we have all of these sources of distress, we also have a whole bunch of internal resources and availability to at least patch things up. And I'm not by any stretch of the imagination saying that you have to fix everything yourself and that it is not okay to ask for help. Please ask for help. What I am trying to impress upon people is that our ability to support ourselves is so much bigger than we think it is. We have so much more power to give ourselves what we need, and to not need to rely on other people, though it's okay to rely on other people. Again, ask for help. Lots of people want to help you. I want to help you. But you're also amazingly capable of these things. We all are, right? So anyways, another big diatribe for you guys. Marriage is betting half your stuff that you'd rather be together forever. I'm married and my hubby is rad. We make this joke often. Love yourself enough to set boundaries. Your time and energy are precious. You get to choose how you use it. You teach people how to treat you by deciding what you will and won't accept. That is very, very, very true. And I think my favorite part of it is you teach people how to treat you. You teach people what you will accept. And I think an important part of that to remember, and content warning here, this does not by any stretch of the imagination mean that if you experience emotional, physical, or psychological abuse that you are allowing it to happen. That is a very different thing from what this is meaning here. But taking ownership for whatever tiny bit of control you have and leveraging that control, that is in your power. And you can teach people how you use your power in lots of ways. And it's far easier to say teach people how to treat you, or we teach people how to treat us from, the safety of our, homes and bedrooms and stuff like that. But a lot of people, it's not safe to create a boundary, and that's an issue. And whether that means mentally safe, physically safe, etc., is a kind of a different, ball game. But I know people that have wonderful relationships with their parents, but don't feel that they can make a boundary with that parent because they feel like that would threaten the relationship. So in that case, what you can do is like, okay, well, what would I stand to lose? If I did make this boundary and I did lose that relationship, how can I fill that part of the cup that I need filled, that person is filling? And it's not going to be like, oh, I'll just find a replacement for them. You might need to find a whole bunch of little, ways to fill your cup. And they were like pouring into your cup from like a jug this size, and you need to find a bunch of those little disposable Dixie cup versions. But if you can facilitate your own safety to move away from that person, that is a step in the right direction. So just remember that if you are in a situation where it's mentally, physically, or psychologically unsafe to make a boundary, it's okay. You don't put yourself in danger. But also, treating yourself the way that you want to be treated is also teaching people how you will allow yourself to be treated. Right? So, do what's best and safe for you. Adopted parents can be cute. A friend was talking about this the other day. She's pregnant. Her mother was abusive and her father is uninterested, but now she has neighbors who are very interested in her welfare and that of her child. Yeah. The idea of chosen family, happy Pride Month, we get to choose. There's people in our lives that serve a whole bunch of different roles. And I talk frequently about my best friend, Carly, back home. You guys see Layla. Do you know how much Layla fills a mom-like role in my life sometimes? It's a lot for someone that is a very close one of my best friends. She's not just a friend. She's sometimes a parental figure. Sean and her feed me every single time I go to Vulgar Science on Mondays. When we're done, they will have a home-cooked ass meal, usually hot and waiting in a little bowl because Sean will be modding and also like preparing the food that, Layla and him had prepared earlier that day. That is parental stuff. And to reframe and remind ourselves that maybe we didn't have a parent. Maybe both my parents are horrendous, which they aren't. But even if that is the case, even if I have no relationship with any formal actual parents, I have a once a week amazing set of parents that I get to sit down and have dinner with. Do you know what I mean? And this isn't to say make your friends your mom and dad, but you see what I'm saying here, right? Anyways, found family is so wonderful. That's fabulous. Yeah. It's so sweet and really nice after not ideal family. Sage. Yeah. Have a relaxing weekend. I gotta go mow the lawn. Thanks for a chill and engaging stream and sharing and explaining thoughtful ideas. I really appreciate you being here, Orange Hue, and thank you so much for your contributions throughout. It's been a pleasure to have you. Hopefully see you again. Remember that this is my last Friday stream for a couple of weeks. I am going to Europe. So if you come by on a Friday and I'm not here, it's because I'm in Europe. So yeah. Anyways, I find these boundaries hard to navigate in the workplace. Yeah. There are a lot of resources. I gotta say, I don't have too many issues. If anything, I make boundaries a little too strong in the workplace. Oops. But I would say, depending on the nature of it being difficult to navigate the boundaries at work, it can be a little bit of a, lots of cases, maybe this is your case, maybe it's not, but in lots of cases, it's the desire to not displease people. And frequently that comes from not feeling safe to say no and to deny people, right? So we get work foisted on us and dumped on us over and over again. And we constantly say, yes, right? So, finding ways to maintain your boundaries elsewhere. If you cannot do that boundary at work, if you haven't figured out a way to do it safely, if there is no way to do it safely, or if you're just not comfortable and not there yet, find another place where your boundaries are honored to fuck. And focus on that and dig into that, dig in deep to that. Maybe it's here. Maybe, this is a place where you feel like if you said, hey, I don't want to talk about something, or you logged off because something was activating and we said, hey, that is totally fine. You're welcome back anytime. Protect your own peace. Maybe that's, do you know what I mean? Like you can find these examples anywhere. And sometimes the best thing to do if you can't exert a boundary safely in one place is to find a place where you feel comfortable in other ways. And then you get to feel that sense of control and that sense of safety. And you can try and extract that emotion to a different situation and use that to fuel you when there's times where you don't. So gotta bounce too, guys. Have a wonderful weekend. See you, okay, DK. Thank you for being here and thank you for contributing. I really appreciate you. I found wearing a corn shirt at work really sets the tone of what kind of relationships I have. There you go. You heard it here first, folks. Maize is the ways to go if you want to make people treat you nice at work. Hilarious. I find I get bullied in the workplace, but also find that when I stand up for myself and set boundaries, I no longer have a job. Zoinks. That is a tough one. I'm really sorry that you are in that situation. Might I suggest the corn shirt method? No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I mean, it's something where like, the only thing I could really safely say is if you can't make boundaries at work safely without losing your job, there's a couple of things. Do the ribeye method, relax, zoom out. What is this really about? Identify the problem. You can't make boundaries at work. Brainstorm. You could quit. You could straight up quit your job. Maybe that's a possibility. Maybe it's not a great one, but in the next part of the acronym, the ribeye acronym, you can identify which of your solutions is going to be best. Go through brainstorm. You write a letter, you go to therapy so that you feel a little bit more in control. You talk to your spouse about it. You talk to your brother about it. You talk to us about it. You journal, whatever. No wrong answers in the brainstorm section. And then evaluate the solutions that you can use here. And this is not to say that there's going to be a solution that will fix it, but there might be a solution that will help, put a sling on the arm, right? So to speak. So, it's something that's probably the only type of advice that I feel comfortable giving, not knowing the situation and also not being a therapist. But it's something that, sourcing your sense of mental safety and stuff like that from somewhere else as much as you can help at least make it so that you can get through your days feeling mentally not unwell or unsafe there as much as is possible. And if it's truly an abusive situation, I would encourage you to leave. But I also recognize that that's simply not an answer for some people, and that might be the case for you. So it's not that easy. These things are not that easy. But yeah, have a good time in Europe. Thank you. I appreciate you. So they were looking for you to be okay with their trespasses when you weren't. They sent you packing, I guess. So the corn shit on LinkedIn is on the company page. By shit, I mean shirt. There's also now a raspberry shirt. I do really, really, really like the raspberry shirt. Nanners sent me a picture of it the other day because Nanners is my IRL friend. Yeah, so I mean, we got through a lot of hoarding content here. We also got into some little bit heavier other stuff. I always knew that this was going to be a bit of a tough one because lots of people have relationships to hoarders and hoarding and, various things like that. And I think, yeah, it's been a good one. And it's been an emotional one even for me. And it's been something that I hope people walked away with at least one piece of something that's useful. If nothing else, the thing that is useful is, as long as you're not trauma dumping in my chat, we're here for you. We're here. We want to hear what's going on with you. We've shared some experiences from various people here that were no doubt really difficult to share. And I really appreciate people being courageous enough to share those things because that in and of itself isn't that easy. Congratulate yourself, encourage yourself. Even sharing something on here unloads, takes pressure off. You did something amazing. Congratulations, welcome, thank you, all of those things. And It's been a really good one. This is my last Friday stream before I leave. We might do a vulgar science on Monday, but I also know myself well enough to know that A, I prepare last minute in a lot of cases. B, I leave pretty quick after that, and I'll probably need to be packing and be stressed and stuff like that. And C, I don't like to promise something and then have to cancel, because I have had to do that a couple of times recently. So I don't want to have to do that. So I'm not going to say that we will have a vulgar science on Monday, but y'all might get a little surprise. Maybe. Otherwise, I will be back on the 23rd of June is the first Friday that I will be back. And I will have roommates temporarily at that point, because I will be coming back with my coworker / friend Oakley, and her partner will be living with me for a little bit, because they're moving here from the UK and are going to be looking for apartments, but staying with me temporarily, which is why we moved my stream room back into my bedroom. Anyways, amazing stream neuro. Thank you for your knowledge. Thank you so much, Risto. I really appreciate it. You are a source of inspiration for me, and it's very nice to know that I've got you in my back pocket. And Muse Clues, thanks for the stream. Enjoy gallivanting around Europe. Yes, I will try and post to my Neuralicia, but I'll probably be posting mainly to my personal account, which I have privatized for obvious reasons. But maybe I'll try and post to the Discord pics and stuff like that. Maybe if you guys enjoy travel pics. So yeah, I'll try and share as much as possible. But if I share jack shit, sucks to suck. I'm enjoying Europe. So yeah, I hope you guys have a really good June and transition from spring to summer, because I'm going to be gone until after the solstice. Do we like travel pics? Of course. I enjoy pictures. Me too. Yeah, have fun. I definitely will have fun. I can't tell you how much I am excited. I absolutely love Europe. I'm going to Spain for the very first time, and I cannot wait. I do not speak Spanish. I had to figure out how to say I am allergic to shellfish in Spanish so that I don't have to go to a Spanish hospital, because I missed not the last vulgar science, but the one before that, because I was shellfish poisoned. So let's see who's on. Oh, yes. Thank you. I always forget the raid thing when I'm doing it on Mondays. So thank you, Risto, for doing that. Okay. Mahoodles is here. Science is here. I follow a bunch of these people, but I have no idea who they are. Hoot House is just an owl house. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a little science, right? We do absolutely love the guy. That's all I've got online. Moo is lovely. I rated Moo on Monday, so let's variety. Take care, be well. Thank you, Corey. I really appreciate it. All right, stick around for the raid, y'all. We're gonna raid science, because, you know, classics are classics for a reason. So that's just gonna be the way she's gonna be. Science. Alicia types the speed of syrup on a cold winter morning. So you're just going to have to wait. Right, /wage, science streams. Alicia, learn how to fucking type. Oh my God. Why is this so difficult? /raid, near, ants. Streams. This is when Layla was looking over her shoulder. She's like, that says Stram. That says Steam. That says this. Anyways, it's an inside joke now. Science streams. It's your first day. Listen, I did hack into the mainframe to get the video to work. So I'll take my trophy now. I really appreciate you guys. I can't wait to be back and tell you all about Europe. Drop your pet pics in the Discord, please. Yay, the raid has been created. The raid has been created. I did it. Ta-da-ta-da. All right. I appreciate y'all so much. Thank you for being there while I had a little emotional moment midstream. I love that we have this safe space. You guys rule, truly. Okay, we're raiding now.